loops, and we all know K-19, but I am curious about this straight outta nuclear power on family fire. I'm really excited to see some of these newcomers come up and take the stage.
Yeah, definitely quite excited to see what they're going to be bringing to the battlefield or the stage, as you rightly put so. And you know, this is going to be an interesting one because, as we know, it is going to be TDM, so it's not the usual battle royale where we have all these teams in one lobby fighting it out. This time around is going to be two teams going toe to toe, seeing which team will be the one to walk away with the victory. And just to make things a little bit more interesting, it is also then going to be a best out of 3. So the first team to walk away with 2 victories will be the team to move on to the next section. So it's going to be some pretty tough competition coming in.
You're absolutely right. You know, we're so used to that normal structure of PUBG Mobile, which is that battle royale style, which is really taught players to kind of value their life and pick their shots carefully and play extra cautiously. But DK, this is not battle royale mode, is it? I mean, no. With respawns enabled, that cautious gameplay, it can be kind of a make it or break it thing. So the players are going to need to stay on their toes. They need to remember that every single step counts, and could potentially put them in any enemy's line of sight that could be in trouble. So they need to know when to take their fights and when to back down.
Speaking of backing down, right, I am expecting to see a lot of sweaty action as we hop into our very first match. It is going to be an intense game going up against the players there from People Ruthless. So we're about to hop into our very, very first match here of the semifinals to see who will be the team walking away with that glorious victory next to their name. Best out of 3, as we said before. And of course, they are going to be chasing those 40 points. The first team to make it up to 40 will be the team to lock it in already. Now, the team's getting a little bit of a setup coming through here, looking for those openings. But now
DK, what are these team names? We got People Ruthless and who?
We got People Ruthless coming in on the one side, and then on the opposite, as I've mentioned before, it is going to be the Intense Game team coming through as well.
All right. Now, these are both new teams to me, a little bit newer names here. So I'm coming in pretty blind. I see that already Intense has got a 1-point lead, and they're seeming to shine through, but they're holding their covers, utilizing the crates to as much benefit as possible, and waiting for the opportunity to present itself to them.
Yeah, some really interesting positions we see being played here. I mean, this is People Ruthless coming in, holding a beautiful third-party angle. They're just peeking over that ledge before deciding on how to try and rush on forward. But, I mean, looking at TDMs, right, it all comes down to timing and being able to pop out at exactly the right opportunity, as we see a beautiful trade coming in there. But, I mean, this is still Intense Game with a 2-point lead so far.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you know, a 2-point lead in a rate of gameplay that's this fast, that's not that much. And you know, this is as close of a fight as you're going to get. I mean, they're at each other's toes, at each other's throats, 10 to 10 right here. Chikuta taken down real quick. Now, this is interesting because everyone seems to be using the M4s. From what my understanding is that M4s and AKs are allowed. So that's going to be an immediate decision to make here. Are you going to go for stability or damage? Now, if you're going for damage, obviously the AK is going to be the right move. But if you're going for, you know, stability, you want to be able to control your spray, M4 is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, right? M4 is definitely my weapon of choice out of those two, particularly looking at like this TDM kind of setup. I just feel way more comfortable with that, and we actually see quite a few players utilizing the M4, with a few players, of course, going for those AKs. You can see Arct here now just getting pinched up in that corner. Beautiful rush coming through once again. As we look at that feed also, right? There's so many of these M4s just being utilized, and it does seem to be the more favorite weapon to use, or the more preferred weapon rather.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to a quick decision making. You know, are you going to be taking your shots close up, waiting for you to present it more head on? Or are you going to be trying to fire from the other end of the field? You know, if you're going to be trying to make those distance shots, the AK might not be the way to go. That recoil control is a little harder to control.
Yeah, I mean, AK is definitely one of those weapons that is pretty tough. Even IRL, it's quite a bit of a challenge to control the spray coming through on an AK. But now, As we look onto the teams, they are still very, very much neck and neck. I mean, Intense game, they were trailing behind by a few points, but they were able to close that gap considerably. Now they are 1 point ahead, and we've got 6 minutes left on the clock as the teams now enter that halfway point, and it's still going to be a very hairy fight all the way through.
I mean, these two teams could not be more evenly matched at the moment. And you know, another thing that is really important to hold on to that we're not really drawing enough attention to is confidence. Confidence is absolutely going to be imperative moving forward. Once you get that momentum, you need to hold on to it. Now, with both of these teams performing very well, you know, both teams have a high confidence level, but if you start trailing behind 5 or 6, 7 points, it's very, very easy to let that affect your confidence. And if it affects your confidence, your gameplay is going to immediately take a hit as well.
Yeah, but what's so nice about TDMs is like you can still potentially make a beautiful comeback, but once a team really starts building up that momentum, it is quite challenging to really break that momentum down and get an upper hand for yourselves. We can see it is still very toe-to-toe. I mean, neck-and-neck engagement. Both teams now sitting on those 25 points, and this is proving to be a very tough play for both teams here.
Yeah, honestly, I was not expecting it to be so evenly matched right off the bat. Ooh, goodness gracious. Intense and Ruthless just absolutely at each other's throats here. Ruthless with a 2-point lead here. Now, question, are they going to try to hold that by sticking back and holding position? Or are they going to get into a little bit more aggressive gameplay? Because currently, what it looks like is both teams are exercising a little bit of position holding. And there goes Zenji spraying that AK full spray, getting a great amount of damage in, but not enough for the knock.
But I mean, that's kind of the approach coming in on TDMs, right? You want to try and hold a position where you've got a beautiful line of sight and you can just leverage that to your advantage. But both teams playing a very similar kind of approach here. And that's why we see the scores being what they are. They are so neck and neck. But of course, it's also going to be the players now from Ruthless looking to bring in a little bit of a lead on their side as they've now been able to find 3 more points. But still, I mean, that could change at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely. You know, a 3-point lead in something as fast-paced as a TDM, it's not that significant. But if you are the team in the lead, do you want to try to slow the gameplay down to maintain that lead? That's a question I'm a little curious about. It looks to me like they are going to be holding a little bit more position. Oh, Bernaz, lucky to be alive, taken down to very low health, and then finish off from the side. Oh, goodness.
Oh, that was a cheeky spray.
Side, but yeah. You don't have eyes in the back of your head, you're up the creek.
Oh yes,
Tokyo
up the creek.
taking out Intense.
Oh, let's see now. It is Bernas once again trying to clear it up. Oh, there we go. Picks up the trade. And with that, they rake in 1 more point. But now look at that again. Ruthless comes in with another play.
Yeah, it seems that for every point that Ruthless gets, you know, Intense has a retaliation point to get for themselves. Oh, here we go. Shikudo, M4 in hand, holding position behind the, what do you call that? Cement block. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yes, or the fancy word for it is also just a cement block. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wrecked from across. And here's
that was
trying to go for a preemptive drop shot, but not getting any connecting damage. Shikuda, however, taken out as well. Comes Intense, AK in hand, full spraying, but it's a 2-on-1 as he goes for a drop shot. It is not enough. Goodness knows, Ruthless people coming through.
Yep, picking up that first one right there. So the first round point, if we could call it that, out of the 3 that we are going to be seeing, definitely going there in favor of people Ruthless, and a very ruthless performance we saw coming in. I mean, once they were able to kind of create that lead, it was very much neck and neck all the way till up about 25 points each. And then from that point on, moving forward, it was just relentless. The teams continuing trying to, you know, not only maintain the lead, but ensuring that the players from Intense were not able to really catch up with them. So really strong performance coming in from people Ruthless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it was a strong performance on both ends, at least for the first half. But my question is, if your team Intense, you know, what is this going to mean for round 2? You can't let this first round get in your head. You know, by all means, Ruthless is going to be coming out for blood. They're going to be coming in with a little bit more cockiness coming in round 2. Now that could be their fatal mistake. This could be Intense's time to remind them, hey, we're not just going to be giving up that easy. But if it does come down to Ruthless taking this one, that's it. Best 2 of 3.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree, because I mean, there's going to be a little bit of pressure coming into Intense, because as we know, it's going to be a best out of 3, so the first team to pick up those 2 victories will be the team moving on in. So this is going to be that opportunity now for the players there of Intense to come back stronger and to play a little bit more of an aggressive game, trying to be a little bit more dominating. And if they're able to do that, they'll of course have to replicate that moving into potentially that 3rd round as well. As we know, 2 points, that is what will be securing the team moving through to the next phase. So I wouldn't say I'm stressing for Intense, but definitely they have to bring that focus in moving into the next round.
Well, absolutely. I mean, let's not rule out just the effort that Intense did put in for this first round. It was a close match for the first 3/4 of the game, at least. So these 2 teams are fairly evenly matched. They can keep up with Ruthless. I mean, that has already been proven, but it comes down to a matter of momentum. You cannot let Ruthless build up that momentum, because once they start going, they start really going.
Yeah, and then they can become pretty ruthless, as we did see there. So, I mean, I think the best way to capture what we saw coming through in that first round, it was ruthlessly intense, right? With both teams stepping up and just bringing it all out onto the field. But again, second round, that's where it's going to be at. And it's going to be a super important match, especially for the players there from Intense to step up and bring in that point, because then it's going to move down to that last round, right? Then it's going to be the final showdown, the final battle to see who will be the one to move through and walk away with the victory on this round.
Yeah, I am just riddled with excitement, man. To be honest, I've got a little bit of investment here in Intense. I like to root for an underdog. I like to see that comeback. I want to see Intense come in and even it out. That way we're left with a 3rd match, a tiebreaker. That's where the excitement really runs.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hot and sweaty, as we know, right? So it is Intense going toe-to-toe with Ruthless for this first matchup of the day. After that, as we can see, we are going to be hopping into our next pairing, which will be the players there from Chapton going up against the On Family Fire. And a little bit later on, they'll, of course, be meeting up with each other, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be seeing that happen today. So there's quite a few plays to be made here, and as we can see, right, this is what we call an instant elimination. So the moment that you are not the team to win, that's the end of the road. So you got to bear it all coming out onto that field and hoping that you're the team walking away with those 2 victories.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we also are going to have Blackwater facing off against J-Star, Loops against Master Rush, Straight Outta versus GKS, Astronomy versus E-Storm, and then here's one I'm really excited for, K19 versus Masatos. Those are 2 teams that I'm very well acquainted with, and I want to see who's going to outperform the other in that.
Yep, only time will tell once we get into that. So today's going to be a really sweaty day. I'm really not complaining about that though, right? Because it's winter here where I am. So, you know, some extra additional heat goes a long way. It's really much appreciated, right? If we can put it that way. So I'm keen for the action and really hoping to see the teams lighting it up and stepping up to the challenge. And I mean, already Intense, Ruthless, they got us off to a really strong start on that first round.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about bringing the heat. You know what comes with heat is sweatiness. And boy, these teams are ready to get sweaty. So we've got dad jokes, we've got bad jokes, and we've got bad dad jokes. And there's the first one, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, can't complain when that's coming through. So if it gets a little bit cringe, we do apologize in advance, you know, but we can't really do too much about it just yet. Of course, especially from my side, I will try and filter all the bad jokes as much as I can, but who knows, it's kind of just a spur of the moment. I don't really get to test them out. It all happens as it happens. And that's pretty much kind of what we see from the teams as well, right? So they're going to step up, get themselves into those positions, and the moment that the opportunity presents itself, you need to try and be the first one to not only get the engagement, but you need to be accurate as well. So that's what I like about TDMs, is because it really pushes that close quarter engagement. You really have to be on point and able to succeed.
Yeah, and you know, again though, with that, the respawn being a factor, you don't need to be quite as reserved. It's not like you don't come back. You do come back, so there needs to be a little bit more all-out aggression from what I'm seeing. Now, granted, you're going to want to hold your corners and your positions when the time calls for it, but you cannot rely on a camping tactic, not in a TDM. This just will not work.
Well, you might camp your way back into a loss, right? Because the only way to succeed in these TDMs is by being proactive. You need to go out there. You need to try and assert your dominance, kind of try and own that field, own the arena, because that at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to get it locked in. Of course, now speaking about locking it in, we're getting ready to move into our second round. It is now going to be the players here from Intense Game having to try and step up and show us what they've got and whether or not they can actually lock in a point for themselves.
Yeah, now, is Ruthless coming in here with that momentum? Are they going to bring it back from game one and be able to hold that for game two? Or, you know, is Intense going to step their game up a bit? We'll have to wait and see right now.
Yep.
All right,
so
Octi
here we are.
Position. Yeah. All right, it looks like it's going to be a bit more of a reserve start here, and I don't blame Ruthless for that one bit. You know, they've got the advantage here in their favor. They've already got one game in their favor. Let's play it out slow and wait for the opportunity to present itself to them rather than themselves putting themselves out in the open, presenting the opportunity to the enemy. Oh.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, it does seem to be a little bit of a standoff happening here. Both teams being quite reluctant to move on through, looking for those openings. As we can see, it is going to be the players coming through from the side there of People Ruthless, looking for a little bit of that opening, hoping to find something here. But it is now going to be Gen 6 that's going to get Zen 6, rather, that's going to get rushed.
Yeah. And here we see both teams really holding their corners now. That a little bit slower of a gameplay than round one is what I'm noticing. A little bit more reservation here, a little bit more hesitancy. I'm kind of surprised to see it. Oh, Zen 6 trying his best with the peek and fire M4 full spray. However, taking a lot more damage than he's able to dish out there.
And this time around, it's much slower with the points, right? The team's not really just raking in those points so aggressively. You see a lot more of that caution coming on in, but look at that Intense now, just stepping straight on up, trying to lay it down, but gets stopped in their tracks. Beautiful approach coming in. But this is still anyone's game. As we can see, both teams now sitting on 5 points apiece. Still have 8 minutes left on the clock. And it is going to be a little bit more intense coming in now as, you know, the teams have to try and secure themselves that match point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, while it does seem to be a little bit more reserved gameplay, one thing that has stayed the same is these teams are very evenly matched at the moment, at each other's throats with a 1-point difference. This is a close match.
Yeah, definitely a close match, but let's see who will be the team to step up. A little bit of a lead coming in on the side there of Intense. Oh, but a quick play coming in now. Yeah, look at that. Ruthless now. They're stepping up. They're not going to let that gap stay there for far too long, as it is now Intense looking to see if they can find a bit of a play to make right here at the spawn area. Beautiful spray coming in, but all Intense now needs to do is try and hold on.
Yeah, now, question, if you're Intense, after you get that kill, what is the right move? Do you still hold that position, or are you going to be rotating? Because in my opinion, it seems like the smart move would be to pull a rotation. They're going to expect you to be at that corner still. I don't know if him holding position is going to ultimately fare well for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tough, it's a tough call to make, right? Because you could try and hold on, or you could try and, you know, move out and look to get a little bit more aggressive, right? But both of those come with a bit of a cost, and you got to decide which one are you more satisfied with paying, right? You got to pay the price at the end of the day. Are you going to try and give up your position, or are you going to try and hold the angles that you've already been able to secure?
Yeah, are you going to keep surprising the enemy? Are you going to keep them on their toes? Or are you going to go with the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it tactic, you know? All right. Now, I have no idea how to pronounce that other guy's name, but we got Jakuda, Intense coming in. Intense putting a spray down, full spray M4, but not able to get the knock there. Jakuda holding position inside the warehouse, and surprisingly, which is vulnerable from 4 different angles. Going for a drop shot. Tokyo ultimately unsuccessful and taken out.
I mean, this is such a tough play.
Kills.
Oh,
6 kills. And, ooh.
I mean,
Yeah,
they just raking these points in.
Yeah, but both teams dishing it out just as heavily as they're taking it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look at the points, right? 16 and 17, 16 points. Now over to the players there from Intense, with the team there from Pro, or rather Ruthless, sitting on 18 points as they are able to rake in one more. Of course, the teams still now trying to keep steady on their positions, not looking to get them exposed. But an interesting approach coming in here from Intense, right? Just trying to creep their way onto the doorstep of the players from the side of Ruthless. So, I mean, Ruthless also, they just holding strong, not looking to give away their angles just yet.
Yeah, so this is something I'm seeing. So we got Intense with a 2-1-1 split, but Ruthless, I'm noticing a little bit of repetition here from round one. Once they get that slight lead, then they're going to start playing a little bit more reserve, holding that corner a little bit harder. They're going to try their best to maintain that lead. Oh, ultimately, maintaining their 2-point lead still. Keeping that gap, as small of the gap as it is, that's all you need.
Yeah. And this is crazy because the moment Intense steps up to bring in a point, it is a quick response coming through there from Ruthless, and this is what making it so difficult for either of these teams. But all that the players from Ruthless now need to do is they just need to stay out of sight, right? That's kind of the approach, because if Intense can't find them, the match is theirs.
That's correct. You know, you're absolutely right when you say that. And I'm wondering, you know, if it is going to be that way moving forward. Are all these matches going to be that, you know, you got a slight lead? Are you going to hold on to it by playing reserve? To me, it's a risky one because a 3-point lead isn't much. And that kind of gap can be eliminated in a matter of, I don't know, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. It all depends. But it is a quick style of gameplay in a TDM. 3-point lead, 4-point lead even. Not necessarily significant enough to get cocky. Not significant enough to get comfortable.
Yes, comfortable, cocky, whichever C word you want to use, that's the one that we'll go with right here. But as we can see, it is now a 4-point lead in favor of People Ruthless, and they still playing a very calculated match here, right? They just staying on their side and not really venturing too far out, and it's making Intense work so hard to bring in any of those eliminations. There's actually a big brain strat coming through here.
Well, absolutely. But what I'm seeing here is Ruthless, kind of building on what you said previously, Ruthless is going for something where they're covering every member of Intense individually. And that's why every time Intense is able to get a kill, it ultimately results in a little bit of retaliation, immediate knockback. That's on Ruthless's end. Pretty smart move. They have a 2-1-1 split on Intense's side, leaving a little bit of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Intense going after Zen 6 with a takedown M4. And this is what we're talking about, holding that position, not advancing too much, playing it a little bit safer, a little bit closer to home.
I mean, it's a crazy play because this forces the players there from Intense games to actually come out of their comfort zone, and they have to advance forward to look for those opportunities. And this is where People Ruthless just kind of rake it in, right? They just sit back, they say, you know what, why go to them if we can make them come to us? And that is working out quite favorably for them, as they've already been able to secure 26 points and, you know, hold on to that 4-point lead.
You're absolutely right, DK. The fact that they got that 4-point lead, they are sitting pretty. That means Intense has no choice. It's either they make a move or they lose. So they're the vulnerable team here. They really are the team up against the odds. But it's so crazy that it's only a 4-point lead that gives that sort of advantage. I am noticing, though, Ruthless looking like they're holding things pretty confidently, and I see Intense kind of once again towards the mid half of the game starting to veer behind a little bit more. Same as we saw in match 1.
Yep, that's what we see happening. And of course, only 1 minute and 20 seconds remain on the clock. So if we don't hit that 40-pointer, it is going to be the team sitting with the most points. But now is that opportunity for Intense to try and close the gap. They've already been able to rake in 2 more eliminations, but will they be able to push even further? Slowly but steadily looking to close that gap, looking to bring in that match point. But look at this Octi coming in with a beautiful off-angle play, beautiful rush now coming in response. But that only delivers the eliminations onto the players there from People Ruthless.
And this is going to just exemplify again, for every kill Intense gets, Ruthless is snapping back. One in retaliation, because for them to get that kill, they put themselves out in a vulnerable position. And is that really, go boiling back to what we said previously? Intense doesn't have a choice but to put themselves out there. And look at this gap. It is starting to widen. Ruthless getting more and more confident. Intense starting to feel the real pressure here with 20 seconds down. 20 seconds remaining, pardon me. With a 5-point gap between these teams, it's looking like it might be a done deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be super, super tough, especially now that we can see the players here from Intense trying to rush on forward. 4 points left, 2 seconds left on the clock, and it is locked in as we do have our winners. And with that, it is going to be People Ruthless closing that gap with a 6-point lead, picking up their second match point. And I'm pretty sure that means, seeing that they've already got their 2 points, and this is a best out of 3, that's a clear victory right there for People Ruthless.
Absolutely. You know what is kind of surprising to me, though, is the way Ruthless did it. They won match 1 pretty aggressively, I would say, fairly aggressively. Coming in to match 2, you think with that little bit of confidence, they're going to play on the all-out aggressive side. They're going to be on the offense. But no, Ruthless came in very cautiously, holding their corners, waiting for moments of vulnerability from Intense. And Intense, unfortunately for them, they were giving that moments of vulnerability up. They were putting themselves out there into open positioning, and that is why Ruthless was able to capitalize on it. Once that little gap was there, that's all Ruthless needed. To hold back, they've already got the lead. Intense has no choice but to push out.
Yeah, all they did was sit back and then just pry that gap wider and wider. But that was definitely a big brain strat coming through from Ruthless, right? Because in the first match they stepped up, they made sure that they were able to lock in that match point. But when they came into the second round, that is where, as you said, right, a lot more of a cautious, but I'd also go as far as to say a lot more of a calculated approach coming in, because they know that Intense is now sitting in a bit of a hot seat, right? So in order for Intense to be able to lock in that match point, they will have to really go out and work for that point. Then all the players there from Ruthless then had to do just sit back, hold their positions, and let Intense come to them, which at the end of the day worked out quite favorably because they were kind of handed a few of those eliminations.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And time and time again, we will see the kind of case where on round 2, the teams like Ruthless might say, oh, we've got this lead. It doesn't necessarily matter. If we lose this match, we're still doing okay. That little bit of assurance can be the absolute downfall for a team. But Ruthless, to their credit, did not let the pressure off of Intense. Not even for a single second did they put themselves in a comfort zone. And, it came out just the way. Now, I believe it says Intense Gaming came out victorious.
Yeah.
I believe that's a mistake. I believe it was Team Ruthless who came out victorious there. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a typo there, guys. Keep in mind, it was Ruthless who came through victorious. But we'll get that fixed on the board soon enough.
But I mean, so a little bit of a surprise there. Maybe they were just testing out our memory, right, to see whether or not we can actually remember who was the team that won. But of course, now speaking about testing our memories, we are going to be hopping into a very quick break. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys right back afterwards. Move into our second matchup already. The first one kicked off to a really great start in favor of the players from People Ruthless, picking up a 2-0 victory. Now, of course, speaking about victories, we are going to be looking into our next teams, our next matchup. But of course, we're hopping straight into it as there's no time for delay. Who's going to sit back and wait for any of the action as we have the teams hopping straight into the channels? A challenge, rather, not channels, getting right down to business. It is going to be Chaptan up against the Honor Family Fire. And as we look onto the board, it is going to be the players here from Honor Family Fire sitting already on a 1-point lead. 2 points brought in, and with that, it is Chaptan just closing that gap up really, really quickly.
Absolutely. Hold on one moment here. There we go. My screen minimized for just a brief moment there. All right, we got Arison holding behind. Seems to be a little bit more a little bit more risky gameplay here than what we saw in match 1. A little bit more vulnerability here as Arosen putting himself out there for a rotation. He does hold position here a little bit with the M4, waiting for his health to rejuvenate. Boros coming to keep his cover. And yeah, well, I might withdraw what I just said. I withdraw my previous statement about this being a little bit more aggressive. Oh, but there we have it. I believe that's on Family Fire, who's got this 2-point lead here. Blue Chopton, okay. Now these are both two teams that are a bit new to me here. I'm not acquainted with any of these players here, so it'll be great to learn their play style here as we move forward. Boros cooking up a nade. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I thought nades were not allowed. Oh, boy.
Ooh.
See, getting that kill, but immediately revenge is best served cold and sweet. And there he was taken down.
Yeah, that was not only cold. That was a little bit on the frigid side, right? That was such a little bit of a sting coming in there, of course. Now, speaking about stings, it's going to be Japan now trying to close up that gap as they are now only trailing by 1 single point. So it is going to be a lot of aggression now being brought in from the side of Japan. But with that, a quick offensive play coming in from On Family Fire as they look to retain the lead. And with that, locking in yet another point. As we did see that first pointer coming onto its Japan, it was a quick reaction coming in. And look at that. Such a great trade-off coming in between both these teams.
Absolutely. And I am noticing, you know, on the On Family Fire side, they're getting their kills and immediately relocating. They're not just staying back and holding position behind one spot. They're not giving that camping tactic too much of a chance here. And I like to see that. I like to see that rotations keeping Chopton on their toes here, keeping them wondering. And oh, it is paying off in fold right here.
Yeah. Oh, man, look at that. Andro with a beautiful response coming in. I mean, it's such a heavy-hitting performance coming through from the players there of On Family Fire. And this is where Japan really has to do so much work to try and not only catch up, but they need to try and, you know, potentially build up a lead going in here as they are trailing by 3 points at the current point. And now it's also interesting, right, is we've got 3 players on either side, so it's still very evenly matched up. But another great trade coming in now for the players there of the Buluk Choptans. I do think I said that right. I hope I did.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, keep in mind, if you're one of these two teams starting off as a 3-person, you immediately think you're going up against a 4-piece. Imagine the relief when finding out it's another 3-piece and it's an even fight.
I mean, they can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief coming on through, but again, a lot of aggression now being showed. Not as much of a calculated match as we saw in the round just before, but now look at this. It's just sheer bloodshed,
Yeah.
and with that, of course, it is going to be the players from Chaptan now holding on to the lead, 3 points ahead.
Yeah, they're actually able to come back from behind from a 3-point deficit up to a 4-point lead in a matter of, I don't know, 45 seconds. Pretty impressive work right there. That just goes to show, even with a 4-point gap, 5-point gap, this is such quick gameplay that it's not that significant of a lead. You cannot let that number gap discourage you. And we're about to see if On Family Fire falls victim to that.
Oh, yeah, it ain't over until it's over. And with that, it is going to be On Family Fire now rushing on forward, closing that gap now, trailing by only 1 point. And it could still swing either which ways. Both of these teams being so relentless in their efforts. Let's see whether or not Erison and the rest of the players here from On Family Fire are able to catch on up. But look at that, Andrew just going to town, but a beautiful jump shot coming in there as well.
You know, it shouldn't really surprise us, DK, that these matches are so evenly paced, because keep in mind, we started off with over 500 teams, whittled down to just 32. Okay, that means these teams had to go through the hellfire to get to where they're at here. They absolutely had to decimate to get to where they're at. So even if they are, you know, say they don't win this match, you cannot discourage them. You cannot take away from the fact that they made it this far in the tournament.
Yep, definitely can't discourage any of these performances we see coming in here. I mean, 500 teams, that is a pretty steep number. And being, you know, the 32 top teams, that definitely does say something about the capability of these teams coming through. And looking at these trades that we have, I mean, it is so sweaty. It is so hot and spicy.
Oh
and with that, the jump shots galore, just running on in with a 2-point difference coming in now.
Now, that's Chopton been holding on to this 2-point lead pretty consistently for the past minute and a half now. Oh, but you know what? Give it to On Family Fire to not get overly discouraged here. They are at their throats, neck and neck. 1 point separates these two teams.
Oh, this is an opportunity now. Oh, yes, indeed. It is going to be Chapton now to grab that opportunity with both hands, holding on now to a 2-point gap. But with that, Andrew quickly steps up to try and close up, picking up yet another point. And it is going to be Boros now moving up into that center position, looking to see if they can find a bit of an opening and potentially maybe try to even it out, at least for the time being. And they succeed. But of course, it is going to be the play there from Chapton, picking up a near instant trade and back onto a 2-point lead.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing I'm noticing here is we got much faster gameplay here than we were left with between Intense and Ruthless here. Look, we've only got 5 points remaining here with 2.5 minutes on the clock.
Oh, and I mean, only 4 points, 3 points left for Japtan now to try and secure to have this match locked in their favor. Up comes the rush. Beautiful spray by Andrew once again. Now just chasing those points and, oh, picks up a double trade, taking 2 players out. But will this be enough now?
Absolutely imperative at this stage. You know, Chopton can taste the chicken on the tip of their tongue here, but, oh, On Family Fire, not so ready to give it up that easily. Montoya holding position inside the crate. This is something that I expect to see from Chopton at this point. They're going to be playing pretty reserved, holding position. Same case as we saw in round 1 with, or match 1 with Intense and Ruthless. This is the advantage here in Chopton's favor. Hold position because On Family Fire has no choice but to put themselves in a vulnerable position if they want to tie it up. Or victory. It was a good effort.
Yeah. But again, a really, really close score. That was a 40-37 finish, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, swinging in favor there of the team Chaptan. But so the first match point going straight over to Chaptan. Now, all they're going to do is try and replicate that moving into the second match. But a very, very aggressive performance all the way up until about where they hit the 35-point mark. And then all they did was kind of just hold on to their position and trying to not get themselves kind of spotted out and potentially traded off as well.
And as we were saying, you know, just previously, that's something that we saw in match 1, we saw it in match 2, and it's very likely going to be seen throughout the course of this tournament, is once you got that little bit of gap, once you've got that little advantage, you want to hold on to it. You want to make sure you're not giving up those easy opportunities. You don't want a possibility of a comeback, and you want to instill that mindset into your enemy. You want them to think there is no coming back, because once you diminish their confidence, it's game over.
Oh yes, and I mean, this is a lot about not only a physical performance coming through, but also it is still a little bit of a mental challenge, right? Because the moment the opposing team is able to establish a little bit of that lead, you know, there's so many things that you need to then try and piece together to not only bounce back, but also to surpass them. And we did see that performance coming through from the players there of Chaptan, right? For a considerable portion of the first few points, they were actually trailing behind. They were able to catch up, and not only catch up, they were also able to surpass, but managing to close it out with a very narrow margin.
Yeah, you know, it comes down to the point of how do you react under pressure? Because you know what? If you're not ready to, say you have that 2-point deficit, if you're not ready to buckle down and say, all right, we need to kick things into gear and kick things into gear now, not a chance, baby. Not a chance. But, you know, got to give it up to Chopton because they did, as you said, they did start off with the disadvantage. The advantage was in On Family Fire's favor when they had that 3-4 point lead. But, you know, as we've said time and time again, with a game pace that's this fast, it's anyone's game. Anyone's game. Up until, let's say, 7-8 point gap, I don't start to feel too comfortable with anything.
Yeah, but even taking into consideration, should a team be able to establish a 7-8 point lead, right? They still need to put in so much work to not only maintain that, but ensure that they are the team to finish off. Now, that strategy could mean several different things. It could either mean that they go for a little bit more of a strategic delayed positioning, ensuring that they are quite difficult to find, or they could try and play the angles, right? Have themselves set up in such a point where they can actually just look to leverage whichever angles it is that they are holding and potentially increase that lead by even more.
Yeah, and you know, another thing, quick decision that these players are going to have to make is, are they going to be operating, you know, spread out from one another, holding corners, you know, finding themselves in a position where if you're knocked, your teammate isn't quite able to get that retaliation, or are you going to stick together as a unit and, you know, try to gang up on them? It all depends here. In this particular case, we saw Chopton holding position, a little bit more spread out, and that's why they were able to get those retaliatory shots. The second On Family Fire gets a takedown, boom, retaliating with a kill of their own.
Yeah, and that's what we saw in the first matchup as well, right? So the team on the defensive kind of play really just utilizing everything to their advantage. So the moment, you know, there is a potential threat coming in their direction, they are quick to react. But also, not only that, they are able to acquire even more points just adding on to their tally. So it makes it quite a bit of an interesting decision to make here, right? Because if you go out looking for those points, are you going to be able to find them? And if you do, will you then be able to defend it? Because the moment you move up and you ensure or lock in a point, right, are you then in a position where you are quick enough to react because you've already lost a little bit of health? So there's so many things to take into consideration here, and you know, so far it's looking pretty tough though, but not quite sure whether or not that was now the end. Maybe we could see a little bit more coming through from Family Fire. Not quite sure what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe On Family Fire may have backed out, or maybe it's just a little preemptive. Maybe our production team is putting a gamble on Chopton winning here, but we are not quite at the point where Chopton has taken the victory altogether yet. From my understanding, we still have at least one more match to go, and it leads me to wonder, you know, can On Family Fire come back from this? Is Chopton going to come holding on to that momentum as we saw Ruthless do in round one? You know, you kind of come in with a little bit more of a mental advantage in round two if you took the dub for round one. It's on Family Fire here to come out and say, hey, don't get too comfortable, because we're here to take round two back. We want a round three.
Yeah, we want to see that discomfort, right? Because that results in some really interesting gameplay coming in between these teams. So we're just waiting to see whether or not we're going to be hopping into that second matchup between the players there from Chopton, as well as the team coming in from On Family Fire. As you know, I do kind of expect On Family Fire to step up and try and contest that match point, because as we know, it's going to be absolutely essential for these teams to try and lock in as many of the points as they possibly can, because it's an instant elimination. If you're not the team able to succeed here, there's no opportunity further than this. This is kind of the end of the road, at least for the performances coming in for today.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm curious, you know, are we going to see a little bit of repetition here, that like we saw between Ruthless and Intense, where come round two, the gameplay has switched up a bit. You know, you find a little bit of different tactics here between round one and two. You're a little bit more comfortable round one. You have a lot of opportunity and possibility in your favor, but come round two, when you're already at a one-game disadvantage, are you going to be coming out more aggressive or more passive? Because both make sense in that case.
Yeah, no, it 100% does, and I fully agree with you on that one. So, I mean, there's so many or several different tactics that the teams can look to bring on through, right? Even though TDM is a relatively fast-paced kind of you know, game mode, you still gotta, in a tournament like this with the best out of three, right? You still have to not only think for the current match, but it's a little bit of a more a more futuristic kind of approach, right? You have to plan ahead, say, okay, cool, let's see how the first match goes. If it goes a specific way, this is how we're going to play the second round then. Or if it goes another way, this is our approach coming into that next matchup. So that you always got to try and keep thinking, you know, a little bit further ahead, and while still at the same time focusing on what you're doing at that exact moment on the field as well.
You know, I absolutely agree with you. And, you know, it kind of makes me harken back to a content creator challenge that I was a part of, where we were doing 8v8 Santorinis, you know, which is when we did it, Rolex was on my team and he gave us all these maps with ideal spot locations for us to hold position at. Now, that was a more kind of strategic, hold passive, you know, approach that does not really apply here at a warehouse match. Much smaller field, much more spread out. You know, you find yourself needing to weigh that balance. Are we going to stay back, hold position, or are we going to go for the gold? Are we going to go guts and glory? Well, we're going to have to see how On Family Fire reacts under pressure come round 2.
Yeah. There's definitely. I'm hoping to see a bit of a bounce back. I'm hoping to see that retaliation come through from On Family Fire, because at this point it's still pretty much anyone's game, right? Even though the team there from you know, Choptown were able to secure that first point, that doesn't mean anything at this point, right? There's still an opportunity for On Family Fire to make that comeback and to get a back-to-back match point in their favor. So it is going to take a little bit of work, but of course, now we're hopping straight into the action to see what is going to be happening. And in fact, it is not going to be our teams moving on through. Instead, it is our next matchup, as we can see already.
Nuclear Power versus Phantom Reborn. Wow. Interesting to see it. Chopton taking round 2, match 2, I guess, right away. Good for them. All right. Well, Nuclear Power versus Phantom Reborn. Let's get it.
Well, so as we can see already, a little bit of a lead being brought in there. It is now Reborn holding on to a 2-point lead. Let's see whether or not they'll be able to create a bit of an opening. Again, a very strategic approach coming in. Definitely the team's trying to get themselves situated up into this kind of mid-section and just holding on and trying to defend it. But, I mean, Neff also going for a little bit of an interesting approach, completely isolated off in the distance there. But Carlos really having to try now and play these angles.
Yeah, as you can see, that this seems to be a little bit more of a hold your ground here. Both teams trying to get to that comfort zone, trying to secure the mid ground. Oh, Blessed able to get that clutch takedown with very little health left in his favor, but this could put him at an obvious disadvantage as he's being pushed on. But luckily, that health rejuvenation comes just in time.
Yeah, and that's kind of the strategy right here, right? As you go rushing forward, you try and pick up those eliminations while at the same time still trying to get back in to cover. As we can see Carlos now picking up that first trade, trying to bring in a bit of a jump shot here to try and secure another point as the team looking to just open that gap, looking to retain their position. But it is going to be Neff now getting spotted out and sent packing.
Nuclear Power tying up the field here, but let's give Carlos credit where credit is due, carrying about half the team points on his back alone. This boy came to play.
Not only came to play, they came to dominate. So Carlos doing an absolutely phenomenal job so far, sitting with those 4 eliminations on board. There goes the 11th point now for the team collectively, as we can see also looking at the Ambers sitting on 4 points for their team as well.
Yeah, we got 2 heavy hitters here. I want to see, what is his name, Bambus, or Bambus go up against Carlos. See who's the winner of that little altercation. Medi taking quite a hit, brought down to about 1/3 of his overall health, but still able to dish out a couple shots. Bambus with a quick fire, able to take Carlos down. There's that confrontation I was hoping for, and Bambus tying it up with that takedown, but Nuclear Power not wasting much time at all. As we said, revenge is best served cold and fast.
Yeah, definitely a lot of contention coming through, as both teams now were just sitting on 13 points apiece. But with that, it is going to be another beautiful run coming in there for Phantom Reborn, as they were able to pick up 2 points again. Nuclear Power and Hard Pursuit closing up that gap nearly instantly, as both teams now move on to 16 points each. 6.5 minutes or 6 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. Up comes Medi with a beautiful trade. Will he be able to secure second? No! Down they go, but of course, down goes yet another player.
You know what I loved about what just happened is you were trying to talk about the lead that Team Reborn had, but by the time you had finished the sentence, they had tied up twice. So, I mean, this is at each other's throats here. And I have got to give credit to both teams. Neither Nuclear Power nor Phantom Reborn is getting discouraged here. They are holding on to hope. They are playing confidently. They are playing aggressively and strategically. The perfect balance right now. As Mehdi holding position behind the logs, he is going to pull a rotation, not staying in one spot for too long. And I think that really is the ticket here.
Yeah, definitely. It could be a good angle to be playing, but this is a rotation that we've been seeing coming through from the players here of Nuclear, right? So they spray a little bit, they run a little bit, move into the next position. So trying to not get caught out in the same position. And it's pretty much the way it goes, right? You never peek the same position twice, but a beautiful sneak trade coming in there from Reborn as they are able to pick up that point. But now the tables have turned, right? They, instead of being in the lead, they are now trailing behind by 3 points. But, well, they try to close it up. But again, the points just keep on adding.
Nuclear Power stepping up to the plate here. They are coming for that gap. They want to establish a little bit of space between themselves and the enemy, a little bit of a point gap here so they can get in that comfort zone, play a little bit there. I mean, I gotta admit, both teams are playing confidently. I don't want to make it seem like Phantom Reborn is getting discouraged here just because they are both performing at a peak level here. Carlos, oh my, quick to the shot here with 7 kills in his name, blessed with 9. Two members holding 16 points between them of that 26 points.
Yep, up comes Matoto with a beautiful position right in the advantageous angle. So if you're holding it, finds beautiful bit of damage.
Matoto with no health, able to clutch it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Absolute insane. And with that, both teams draw up once again. 28 points across the board. No team holding on to that leading position for the time being. But it's going to be Bambus trying to defend. And, 2 easy points now being raked on through.
Yeah, and Bambus carrying 11 kills to his name already. Really keeping that aggressive gameplay going here. Matoto peeking where possible. He's got eyes on... Was it Phantom? I can't read his name here. I apologize. He's got his eyes. I believe it's Nathan. Is that his name?
Oh.
It's hard to read his name. Well, there we go.
Next. Oh, here we go now. Matoto trying to hold on. Just looking for a little bit of an angle to play here. Again, at the same time, trying to not to get themselves too exposed. Blessed. Now just trying to creep up that off angle position. As we can see, it is a 3-point lead coming in favor of Phantom Reborn. And now all they're going to do is just try and maintain the lead that they've got. But Carlos looking for even more points. Not going to be satisfied with only a 3-point lead, as we've seen it change up so many times before.
But as you are noticed, this is the first moment of silence that we have had in this game. It's once Phantom Reborn establishes that little point gap. Now they're doing their best to maintain. So they're going to hold back, as we saw in the previous 2 fights, waiting for the Nuclear Power boys to put themselves out in the open, push out a little bit more vulnerably, because they have no choice, DK.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a power play coming through from Phantom Reborn, right? They're in the position where they can kind of force the hand of Nuclear Power, and we do see a few of those utils now getting cooked up. Up comes the rush, but let's see, will Reborn be able to hold on? Yes! 6-point lead, off they go. All they got to do now is just keep this boat sailing, as it is a big push coming in, and it could be a very successful run now coming in for the players of Phantom Reborn.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Nuclear Power was afraid of here. You know, Team Reborn and Nuclear Power, both, when it was the 33-30 point, both teams were holding back. We had a good 45 seconds there without any kills on the board. Both teams holding position, but as soon as Phantom Reborn put themselves, or pardon me, Nuclear Power put themselves out there, Phantom Reborn ready to capitalize, and look at them doing so with a 5-point lead.
1 point. 1 point left to go. 1 point now for Phantom Reborn. That's all they need to lock it in, and they succeed as they walk away with the first match point going in their favor. Absolutely beautiful setup coming in, but a very contentious performance coming in from both these teams. I mean, Nuclear, they were holding on to a lead for for quite a considerable amount of time, right? And then as we got into those later phases, things quieted down a little bit, but that was then the opportunity for Phantom Reborn to come back swinging and not only swing, but also be able to secure themselves that match point.
Yeah, Phantom Reborn really playing the long game here, not going for that immediate kill, not going for the quick, thirst. They're playing for the long haul, and they did not get discouraged. As you said, they did pretty much the first half of the game. They were trailing slightly, and in a matter of maybe 30 seconds, able to take that deficit and establish a 3 to 4 point lead. So that's about 7 points on the board in a matter of 45 seconds. That is putting yourself into action quick. And once you got that lead, then apparently I think the IGL said, guys, stay back, hold position. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, definitely a great strat coming through there. So it's going to be an interesting one to see what kind of plays these teams are going to be bringing onto the battlefield, right? So as we saw in the first matchup, the teams coming in with a lot more of a strategic approach, especially moving into their second round. The second matchup, it does seem to be a bit of a runaway victory coming in there for the players from Chapdown. But now as we moved into our third matchup, a very, very tight-knit performance, at least all the way through to like 3/4 of the way, right? When we got to that 30-point mark, that is where we did see the players from Phantom Reborn just come into their own, right? They looked so comfortable, and all they did was just held their positions and actually made the whole kind of situation work in their favor, and actually leveraging that, forcing the players there from Nuclear Power, to go out looking for those eliminations, and it worked out absolutely phenomenally for them.
And we say time and time again how confidence is key, absolute key, when you're in a TDM of this pace. And you know what? Phantom Reborn, they got that confidence when they got right around that 30-point mark. Right around then is when they said, all right, we've got this point lead. We established that already. Let's play things a little closer to home, a little bit more reserved. Why? Because we got the point lead to do it. We can afford to do it. And it paid off in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, in a blink of an eye, they went from a 3-point lead to a 7-point lead, and they were able to just maintain that and just keep the tension pretty high. So I'd love to see both these teams step out on the field once again, and I'm curious to see what the players there from the side of Nuclear Power could be bringing in, whether or not they're going to look to retaliate and bring a big bounce back from this last victory at the hand there of the players coming through for Phantom, or could we see another dominating performance coming in from Phantom Reborn as well?
Well, one thing I am afraid to see is Nuclear Power. We saw them somewhat lose confidence in that first match. Coming into match 2, they cannot afford that. They cannot afford that discouragement. They need to stay on their game, on their point, and we're about to find out if they're able to do so right now.
Yeah, we're going to find out in a very short span of time who will be the next team. Will it be a potential victory coming in for Nuclear Power, or could this be the rolling thunder coming in from Phantom Reborn? Neither teams having found any positions or any points, at least for the time being, but it is going to be quite contentious, as it is going to be Doogie to kick us off, picking up first blood right there.
And this is the same sort of tactics that we have seen in both our first and, well, I guess just our first match. When you get into round 2, there seems to be a bit more reserved gameplay on both ends. Nuclear Power desperately needing this dub. It's this or nothing. So they are going to be playing a little bit more reserved, and it makes sense on their end. But what's great about this is Phantom Reborn also mimicking that playstyle, not giving the opportunity, not putting themselves out there where they really have the opportunity to. They are not giving any chance here to Nuclear Power for that comeback. They don't want them to have that opportunity.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I mean, so far it is going to be Phantom holding on to a 2-point lead. It's a little bit of deja vu, right? We saw this coming through on the first round, but now let's see whether or not they'll be able to sustain the kind of momentum as they now push it up to a 5-point lead. Oh, this is looking pretty sweaty.
The amount of difference of 15 seconds can make in a TDM. Unbelievable. That 5-point lead, confidence is key here, and Phantom Reborn has no shortage of it. Nuclear Power maybe was holding position, but just outmanned and outgunned.
I mean, it's crazy, right? This is now just going to be... It looks like Phantom, right? Coming in with a kind of a cleaning the floor approach here with Nuclear Power. I mean, this is a 6-point lead they've been able to bring in so far. Could this be another insane victory? But as we know, right, this could still be the opportunity now for Nuclear Power to make that comeback. This is kind of the comeback story we want to see potentially happening.
Yeah, everyone loves to root for an underdog here, but Nuclear Power, to do so, they need to not only step their game up, but feel confident in doing so, because it looks like they are a bit discouraged here. I see several team members without a single kill to their name yet, and you can see that they are holding position, trying their best to force Phantom out in the open. And, you know, to their credit, Carlos is putting himself out there on numerous occasions here.
Yeah.
So maybe this tactic is understandable, but it does not seem to be working in this case.
It's a bit of a bait and switch, right? That's what it is. Carlos is trying to lure them in, and the moment they take a bite out of that apple, you know, it's just gonna rain down onto them. As a very cautious approach coming in here from Nuclear Power. But I mean, I'm a little bit worried about Nuclear because they can't really afford to play too much of a cautious game, right? They now need to try and overwhelm the players here from Phantom Reborn if they are looking to pick up this match point.
Absolutely. It's going to be, that's the decision you have to make, the split decision. Are we going to do the slower approach, or are we going to do the all-out aggressive approach? As I said earlier, both approaches make sense when you've already lost the first round. You know, I understand why Nuclear Power is staying back and holding position, but the problem with that is Phantom Reborn is mimicking that playstyle when they do so. So when Nuclear Power doesn't push out, Phantom Reborn does not push out.
Yeah,
And
but I mean...
they're able to hold it.
Yeah, but Nuclear can't afford to hold back, right? Because Phantom Reborn is the team currently in the lead in this round as well. So first up, Nuclear Power will have to try and close that gap, take the lead, and then they can take a lot more of a more seated approach. Right now, just play a little bit more cautious and just try and hold on to the lead. But still, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here as the gap now just widens back up onto a 6-point lead in favor of Phantom Reborn. Up comes Carlos, picking up the beautiful trade. Matoto trying to pick up the next one. But with that, of course, Matoto also then gets picked up by Blessed in the exchange.
You're absolutely right. It does seem like Nuclear Power is holding on to this strategy of let's hold our corners here. Even despite the fact that that gap is furthering and furthering, it seems like they need to come up with a quick decision. Hey, guys, we need to get aggressive. We need to change up our tactics because this corner holding, if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. They literally double our points. We need to change something and change it fast. And Phantom Reborn just flying now. Just absolutely flying through them, slicing and dicing through them like they're butter. Blessed coming through with 7 kills to his name.
Oh, I mean, look at that lead though, 11-point lead. This is going to be so much work for Nuclear Power to try and do. I mean, it's not impossible. They can still clutch it, but I mean, they definitely have to step up their current approach because, as we can see, it is not working out in their favor. It is working out beautifully though for Phantom Reborn, and I wouldn't be surprised if Phantom picked up this match point as well.
Yeah, you literally can see the confidence here. You can absolutely see the confidence on Phantom Reborn. It is shining through here. This is Nuclear Power looking discouraged here. Looking discouraged. They are kind of falling back a little bit further here, and that is why that gap is furthering and furthering. 8 points. 9 points. Oof.
It's got to sting, right? It's got to sting. I mean, that's the nicest way I can put it, and still have it, acceptable for broadcast. As we can see, still that 9-point lead being sustained, and now being pushed up onto a 10-point lead in favor of Phantom Reborn. But it's going to be Durgi trying to play it out, but unfortunately gets traded. With that, it is going to be Medi also getting traded, Matoto getting traded. And Bambus could be the next one on the plate. Let's see. Up goes the trade with Carlos. A bit of back and forth in and around the container. Carlos coming into that rush, and off they go. Beautiful trade coming in. 14-point lead. 5 points now left to be raked in by Phantom Reborn.
And here's Nuclear Power. They are trying their best to make that a quick adjustment in gameplay. You can see they are trying to make some more risky moves, but in doing so, they are making some fatal errors here. And Phantom Reborn is capitalizing it. Nuclear Power is putting themselves out there in the open. As we see Medi do right now, they are putting themselves out there, trying desperately to close this gap, but they are making fatal errors in doing so.
Yeah, it's a little bit too late. Oh!
And this is it. Match point. Beautifully done. Phantom Reborn with a well-deserved victory.
Yeah, I mean, that was a 12-point lead right there at the end. So an absolutely phenomenal performance coming in from Phantom Reborn. And, you know, this is where it becomes a little bit of a psychological game as well, right? So not only do you go out, you get aggressive, you rake in those points, but then you got to keep that state of mind up, right? Then you got to be in a position where you could bring in a bit of that bounce back ability, right? So the BBA, that's what we want to see come through from these teams. And I got to say, I mean, Phantom Reborn, they were just absolutely brutal in their approach. And, you know, this is where I think things went a little bit downhill for Nuclear Power, because moving into the second round, they came in way too passive, right? Ideally, we would have liked to see a lot of aggression coming in from them, because they really had to work to try and not only secure that match point, but also try and catch up to potentially take the lead. But unfortunately, they were not able to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Phantom Reborn and Nuclear Power in round one was a much closer, much more evenly paced match. And you could literally see the confidence build on Phantom Reborn, and you could feel it drain from Nuclear Power. They started off match two with a fatal error, trying to play things a little too close to home. And here's the thing, it's not necessarily a bad approach, but as you can see, Phantom Reborn was not giving them an inch. That strategy fell short pretty quick, and once that happened, that was really on Nuclear Power to make the quick decision. They needed to change their strategy, and they failed to do so until it was just a little bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, ideally what I would have liked to see from Nuclear Power was them first trying to gain the lead, and then they could have adopted the approach that they brought coming into the second round, right? That would make sense to me. But starting off the match with that kind of approach, that was essentially handing that match point over to the players there from Phantom Reborn. And that is what Phantom Reborn did, right? They saw that Nuclear Power was playing it a lot more passively, and all they did was they just dialed up their aggression, they went out, they went farming, and they finished off with a 12-point lead at the end of that match.
Yeah, Nuclear Power was expecting Phantom Reborn to get cocky and confident, and they were expecting the Nuclear Power was expecting Phantom Reborn to come into match two with some mistakes, acting a little overly confident, pushing out where they probably shouldn't. But Phantom Reborn did not. They said, you know, just because we got this first round doesn't mean anything, and they held on to it because of that.
Yep. Yeah, so as we can see, it is going to be Phantom Reborn moving to the next phase. And of course, that means next up, we are going to be having a little bit of that Blackwater and J-Star Esports action coming on through. So, you know, it's turning out to be quite an exciting day, quite an entertaining day, as the teams are stepping up with some different strategies, showing us what they can bring onto the leaderboard, as we already have the players there from People Ruthless as well as Chaptan going into a little bit of a matchup much later on. And then, of course, well, we wait to see who will go toe-to-toe with Phantom Reborn. Not quite sure which of the next two teams I'm going to be rooting for, either Blackwater or J-Star Esports. I think I'm going to be rooting for the team that rocks the M4. That's my call.
Well, all right. If there's, let's say, was an all AK versus all M4 battle, that would be a really cool one to see, because any close quarter combat situation, the AKs are going to take it. But that from a distance, as we said earlier, the full spray M4 seems to be the move. But I am curious, is it going to be Blackwater or J-Star moving forward? I am loving the pace of this. You know, DK and I are so used to casting classic matches where we're left with downtime and moments of in-betweenness, pockets of silence, but we are doing TDMs today, and by the time we have commentated on one thing, something else has already happened, and I am loving it.
I mean, it makes it hot and sweaty even for us, right? When we're not even playing, right? We're just sitting here talking about what the teams are doing out on that battlefield. And as you said, right, the moment you start, you pick up on a topic and you're like, oh, look at this team. Oh, never mind, it's done. You know, they've already done the thing. So this is also keeping us on our toes. So it's making for some pretty exciting gameplay and commentary coming in. But, you know, as we saw, that was a beautiful runaway performance coming in. A very strong performance coming in from Phantom Reborn. Curious to see which of the teams will be the next one to do that. And I'd love to hear what the viewers' thoughts are. Do you think it is going to be Blackwater or will it be J-Star Esports to pick up the dub on this one? I mean, it could swing either which way. So let us know what your predictions are while we wait to see what the teams are actually going to be doing out on the field.
Yeah, guys, type it in chat. Who's going to take it, J-Star or Blackwater? I am actually pretty acquainted. You know, both of these teams are pretty in the community, pretty well known. So this is going to be an exciting one for sure.
Well, of course, speaking about exciting, it is time for us to hop into our next matchup. Blackwater, J-Star Esports, stepping out onto the battlefield. Let's see what they've got in store for us. As I like the logos, though. It looks pretty cool. Blackwater and the J-Star one. I mean, that's like literally what the... Nice. See, like, and I mean, both of us do graphics as well. So this is always interesting looking at these logos of the teams. So a very, very exciting one coming in on that regard. But now it is time for action. It is going to be Blackwater picking up that first blood as well.
Yeah, wasting no time. Blackwater coming out the gate with an immediate takedown. And, oh, but J-Star retaliating very quickly. But look, J-Star putting multiple members out in the open and Blackwater just capitalizing on it, already securing a 3-point lead over J-Star.
All right, so we got our first prediction coming in. It is, Isaac says it is going to be J-Star. So far, J-Star trailing behind by 3 points there. So, Isaac, you better hope that they catch on up. Of course, Whitey Demon also coming in with a prediction, but it does seem like Blackwater is trying to prove the predictions wrong as they now get into, again, that 3-point lead. It was 4 points, but look at that now. Both teams just picking up these points. Blackwater already sitting on 9 points.
I think what Blackwater is doing is trying to play the mental game here because they say if we establish an immediate lead right off the bat, 30, 40 seconds into the game, J-Star has no choice but to feel the pressure even more so and even get a little bit discouraged here. And luckily for J-Star, it seems like they know how to act under pressure. They are trying to close that gap, having a little bit of trouble doing so as Blackwater maintains a 4-point lead.
Oh, nice
effort on Peter Boy's end. Boy didn't have his gun out.
Oh, and Vacuno also now trying to be a little bit cheeky with that lean over to the left, but that's not going to be enough as they got sent back. Tad now trying to make it work. Does pick up the first straight down. Tad goes.
Jump shot.
Beautiful hits coming in. Pizza Boy also now on the outside. Legal trying to make their way on the in. It is going to be Picasso trying to come through with a sweep. Sticks up a Pizza Boy, and that is now a 4-point lead in favor there of Blackwater.
Yeah, so now let's get things straight here. Like, J-Star is performing very well. They are keeping up the pace for the most part, but they let that little gap... Oh, and they are letting that gap widen as we speak, too. But what happened is Blackwater came in off the bat, immediately bringing the pressure, and it took J-Star a good minute to kind of catch their senses and get in their flow of things. Blackwater seemed to know that that was going to happen and knew that they had a brief window to really impact it, and they did so.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing about TDMs, right? Once you get that momentum, it's really tough to stop that. And it does take an exceptional team to make a great comeback. But here we are again. Blackwater looking to assert their dominance as now the gap gets closed onto 3 points. Vacuno goes down. Let's see what Paquito will be able to get. Does pick up that point as they now start chasing. Only trailing behind by 2 points. So Blackwater could be a little bit of in a little bit of a hot water right here.
Yeah, and I noticed that J-Star is doing kind of the everyman spreads out for approach here. So that does come with some risk and benefits here. The risk, though, is that you're not going to have your teammate to have your back every single time. And that's why Malkin was able to come in and pick him off. However, you know, in doing so, you are leaving yourself a little bit more vulnerable.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Peter boy trying to come rushing on forward. Oh, Sad getting a headshot come through on them. It is now legal. Trying to take the approach onto Thunderzen. But it is Thunderzen getting taken down. Look at this, though. Oh, there's just non-stop action.
Yeah, absolutely. And Malkin is absolutely decimating right now. Malkin of Blackwater putting up 11 kills on his own. Just talk about confidence. The boy is feeling it.
Yeah, Malkin is
Sad.
milking
Not
this.
He's sad, but he's not so sad that
You're
he's not
about
ready to
to
get
win.
some claps in.
Poquito putting in some Poquito plays there. Getting taken right on down. 7-point lead now in favor of Blackwater. Poquito getting traded once again. Thunderzen in a little bit of trouble on the opposite end there, but Malkin and Sad now looking to hold up this defensive line as Vacuno also gets taken right on down. Up comes Legal, looking to catch up to the fight. Sad getting picked on up. 2 points left to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is an impressive performance on Blackwater, and surprisingly enough, it's got to be a surprising performance to our viewers as well, as J-Star was the predicted winner of this, but no sir, Blackwater coming out full guns blazing.
Yeah, I mean, Blackwater just reaching boiling point there as they kept the pressure high, kept the tension going, and with that, picking up the first match point. But all they got to do now is to look to come back into that second round and duplicate it once again. Such an aggressive push. But again, I mean, the players there from J-Star, they were trying relentlessly to try and catch up. And this is what we see is once a team is able to build up momentum, it makes it really challenging to catch up with them. So moving into the next round, this is where J-Star cannot allow anything to go wrong. They need to be on point and just on the business right out of the gate. Look to go in and bring in a little bit of domination.
I could not agree more. J-Star needs to realize that Blackwater comes in wasting 0 time, and they used that first 30 seconds to establish their lead immediately. J-Star was caught a bit off guard. They were not expecting the immediate aggressiveness of Blackwater, and so now, moving into match 2, J-Star needs to realize, we've seen it happen in previous matches where match 2 comes and people play a little bit more passively. That's not going to work out in J-Star's favor this time, and I think they are going to understand that because they were fairly aggressive in match 1, but they are going to need to be even more so if they are going to come out guns blazing and take out Blackwater early game.
I mean, the shock and awe strategy just works so great, right? As you said, right, there is a little bit of that mental game coming in here, and it does seem like that is kind of the approach coming through, at least from the team there of Blackwater, moving into that first match, asserting their dominance really early and just maintaining the pressure all the way through. But I'm curious to see what's going to be unfolding as we move into that second round, because J-Star, they proved to be a very capable team. It was just unfortunate that Blackwater was able to get that lead and hold on to it, because we did see a lot of contention coming through, right? Like Blackwater, there was a few moments where it was like, this could maybe be the opportunity for J-Star to catch up. But I mean, then Blackwater just steps up and, you know, it's like, you know what? We've got so many tricks up our sleeve. You can just bring it on in. We're ready for whatever you could be bringing onto the battlefield. And that makes it so sweaty for these teams.
Yeah, I think these two teams are fairly evenly matched here, and the reason I'm saying that is because for the majority of the game, they were trading kills. It was an actual trade. Like that early game, Blackwater knew they had to establish themselves, and they got there before J-Star knew what was going on. Before they could collect their senses, Blackwater had already established that lead. Now, then J-Star catches their momentum and starts really riding up, you know, matching Blackwater's kills, but by then it seemed the damage was done.
Yeah, and there was a lot of damage being done in this last match. And I mean, this is what makes me so excited to see once we get into that next round, right? But that won't be happening this weekend. This weekend is just going to be the semifinals where all the teams are going to be digging out, looking to see who will be the next ones to move on through. But a very sweaty start, and I can say once we get into that next round, right, it's going to be very exciting to see what all these teams are bringing onto the field. As I think it's going to be very contentious and very tough to be a team to be able to secure themselves a good lead. But of course, we are getting ready to hop into our second round here for Blackwater. and J-Star Esports. Let's go. Let's hop into the action as both teams now come rushing into center.
Yep. Now J-Star coming out. Are they going to play things with the full aggressiveness? We're about to find out right now. It looks like J-Star might be holding some corners, and already we see Blackwater on the aggressive. Peter Boy getting a quick kill. Malkin already carrying half the team kills with 2 to his name, and Blackwater doing the same thing that they did in round 1, coming right off the gate with the full-out aggression. J-Star trying to match their energy, but really having trouble doing so. As I say that, J-Star does get some more kills and almost ties up.
I mean, that's where we just echo what we said before, right? The moment we start saying something that teams kind of, you know, make us put our feet in our mouths. That's pretty much what happens. But now,
our words here.
Yeah, the pressure is on. I mean, J-Star looking to make a really strong comeback as they do even out the board, at least for the time being. But Blackwater quickly picking up a point, and with that, Paquito picking up a quick trade as well. It is such a beautiful back and forth between both these teams. J-Star and Blackwater. I nearly mixed it up. I almost said, you know, J-Water and Black Star or something like that. But the team's definitely making it so sweaty. It's so sweaty, I can't even get my words out properly.
Yeah, well, Blackwater really trying to bully J-Star here, the same way that they did in round 1. J-Star not giving them quite as much of a leniency to do so this time around. I'm happy to see it, J-Star coming out, and actually, I was saying previously, going against what I just previously said, J-Star is trying to match that energy of Blackwater right off the bat, and they're not letting that gap get a little too despairing.
Yeah, I mean, only they've been able to hold on to only a 2-point difference for now, and I mean, looking back at how contentious they've been, definitely keeping the pressure up, but it does seem like Blackwater is just able to inch their way a little bit further up ahead. We do see Sad taking several hits, and with that, Paquito gets taken right on down. Now a 3-point deficit coming in. Let's see whether or not Thunder's in and Skuzen, well, whichever name it is, that one will be able to get those points. Oh, there we go. 2 points in.
Nicely
1 point
done.
difference. Oh, this could maybe come down to the wire.
And, you know, we have not seen the comeback for any underdog yet tonight, so I'm really hoping to see J-Star come back with an overall winning performance so we get ourselves a 3rd round.
Oh, yes. I would not say no to a 3rd round coming through, but at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to J-Star and whether or not they'll be able to bring in that match point. Look at the Thunders are now just waiting with beautiful trigger discipline, evening out the board. And with that, J-Star 1 point ahead. Oh, they get evened out once again. Wow.
You know, this is J-Star really feeling the pressure here, even more so than Blackwater. J-Star is feeling the pressure. This is it. It's make it or break it, now or never. Whereas Blackwater has a little bit of cushioning here. It's kind of interesting to see Blackwater this aggressive, even with that little cushion.
Yep, but it's a relentless back and forth. You can see J-Star still just trying to not only close that gap, but try to get the lead. There we go, 1 point ahead. It is still very, very neck and neck. J-Star 1 point up. Oh, and they get even out once again.
Boy, these two teams are just showing just how evenly matched they really are, and just what kind of difference momentum and confidence can make.
Yeah,
you know,
also determination.
Oh, of course, both of these teams are determined. I think both of these teams are pretty well known in the community for being pretty talented. But here we see, once Blackwater gets that momentum going, it's hard to break that.
Yeah, but I mean, a really strong effort being brought in here by J-Star, as we can see. Vakuno and the rest of the team now just looking to hold on onto their angles, hoping for a bit of an opening, a little bit of a pre-fire coming through on towards Sad there, but Sad now looking to move in. Oh, but it is going to be Vakuno getting traded. Paquito coming in with an off-angle play. Beautiful trade coming in there from Peter Boy. And look at this, a 7-point lead. Make that an 8-point lead. Back to 7 points, back to 6 points we go.
And we are seeing a kind of repetition from round 1. Once Blackwater establishes that momentum, J-Star really seems to struggle on the comeback. And that gap is widening as J-Star as Blackwater once again reclaims that 6-point gap.
Oh, one more to go. Not yet, not yet.
Not giving up. Not giving up.
Ooh.
4 points. But they cannot make any mistakes. Absolutely no room for error here. Not one death is allowed. Not.
Wow.
So you are going to see J-Star holding position here. And
Wow. I mean,
they are holding position.
This is crazy. This is absolute insanity coming through. J-Star, all they gotta do is play a perfect game now. All they gotta do is clutch it out and see whether or not they'll be able to do that. Mix up one, mix up two. Come on, the chase. There's
Oh my gosh!
to go. Come on, J-Star, you are 1 point away from evening out the match points. Come on, let's see. This is literally coming down to the wire.
You can't help but root for an underdog. J-Star coming back from a 6-point deficit, now tying it up. They had 1 point that's all Blackwater needed. J-Star still manages to tie it up. Who's it going to be? Well, J-Star is going to be holding things awfully close to home here, awfully reserved, holding their corners. Blackwater tying up that tactic. What?
No. At least, right? So self-sacrifice doesn't do anything with regards to the points. So that's maybe they were just testing it out just to see what would happen. I mean, it's quite a risky point in time to be trying that, sitting on a kind of decisive match point to be acquired here. But it's going to be down to the wire. 3.5 minutes left on the clock, and 1 point is needed to secure a match point for either of these teams.
My theory is that he ran out of ammo and naded himself so he could be brought back with the full clip and some extra. That's the only explanation I can have for that. But boy, we have been sitting here at 1 point to go for Blackwater and J-Star. We've been sitting here for about a minute and a half, just holding our breath. You can feel a pin drop here.
Yeah. That was funny. You said you could hear a pin drop, and then
drop. Yeah.
Yeah, and then no. But then I heard like some pins dropping somewhere. So, hence my laughter. But this is a crazy one. I mean, what a beautiful comeback this has been from J-Star. Just coming out of nowhere, catching up, just contesting Blackwater all the way through, and now we sit with 2.5 minutes left on the clock. And neither of these teams seem willing to get themselves caught out in the open. I mean, Blackwater, I can understand. They only need 1 point, and then they move through. But this is such an important point now for J-Star, because this means if J-Star is able to get this point, we're going to be moving into that third round, the tiebreaker, to see which of these two teams would be moving on through.
Both teams so close, they can taste the chicken on the tip of their tongue. But Blackwater, they know they have a certain level of cushioning here. They do. That J-Star just doesn't. And so J-Star really, really cannot afford a single mistake. Not from one of them, not from any of them. And with this, now I'm curious what's going to happen, if this clock dwindles down and we're left with a tie.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen, right? And I've played my fair share of TDMs, but I've never been in a tie situation, so I don't even know what the procedure will be if that was to happen. So we can either wait a minute and 15 seconds to find out, or one of these teams be ballsy enough to step out and hope that they can pick up that point.
But boy, talk about feeling the pressure. Every member of both teams feeling the pressure. One single mistake costs it for the whole team. And you can understand, if you are a member on either team, well, I wouldn't be dancing the way Piskuzin is. He seems awfully in his comfort zone, but I was just about to say, no one wants to be the one to make that fatal error. Everyone wants to be the hero here, but no one wants to be the one to actually risk it. But guess what? Somebody's gotta.
Yeah, something's gotta give. Who will be the one to give? I mean, at this point, like, I can't blame either of these teams for taking the approach that they are taking, right? There is a little bit on the line here, but we're going to be finding out in the next 20 seconds what the actual result of this will be, if either of these teams get it, because I think if we're in a tie like we've got now, we could potentially be moving into that third match just to kind of lock it in, because That just makes sense in my mind, you know, with kind of the type procedure. But well, we'll have to wait and see what exactly unfolds as the teams now come through, and it is going to be a beautiful, well, tie between both teams.
Well, I'm curious to see what we do from here. You know, this is kind of an interesting situation with it being at the 39 mark for what, 5-6 minutes? I mean, just that's probably a little bit much. Maybe 4 minutes. Let's say 4 minutes to be on the safe side. But that is unbelievable. Both teams, you know, really, this was Blackwater's match to win. They had all the advantage in their favor. They had the momentum. They had that 6-point gap. J-Star, under the pressure, able to come back and clutch, but was it all for nothing as we are just about to probably repeat the match?
I don't think we're going to be repeating it, right? I do think that just counts as a tie, right? So I do think we are going to be moving into that third match, but that is only pure speculation coming in from my side. It would make sense to see that third round coming through, but of course, it's going to come down to, you know, what the organizers decide and what the procedure will be. But I do think we could potentially be moving into that third round. But I got to say though, right? What a beautiful comeback that was from J-Star. I mean, they were trailing by a few points, and then they were just like, you know what, guys, it's go time, right? They stepped up, they just came rushing in on that battlefield, and I love the approach that they came in with there. I mean, Blackwater also looking super confident all across the board, but such a contentious play coming in there from J-Star.
You know, J-Star under the most pressure that they could possibly feel. Blackwater had 1 point to go. Just 1 point. We were pretty much all ready to count the chicken for Blackwater. And you know what? Just point after point, in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds, that gap was gone. And that's when both teams knew, oh boy, it's all riding on this moment. And that's when you're left with a bit of a standoff.
But I mean, it was impressive, right? If we look back to it, because we had the players there from Blackwater sitting on 39 points, right? J-Star were trailing by, I believe it was 5 points, and they just picked up elimination after elimination after elimination to even it out, to catch up to that 39. And then both teams were just like, hang on. We can't do this. We got to keep our distance and ensure that we are not the team that loses this match point. So a very, very interesting performance coming in from both of them. And I'd love to see what they're going to be doing on the next one. As it has not been decided. Of course, we are potentially moving into this last match now for Blackwater and J-Star. But after that, we are going to be having Loops Esports and a Master Rush stepping out on the battlefield.
Yeah, and then followed by Straight Outta versus GKS. Those are both going to be pretty intense. But my curiosity still lies in what do we do here if we do have a match 3 and J-Star wins match 3?
Ooh.
Then what?
Oh,
so
maybe it's so. What would make sense then is if J-Star wins this next match, right? I essentially then look at the team with the biggest lead, right? By how many points they are leading, right? So if J-Star are able to get a runaway performance and like win with 15 points, which is more than what Blackwater had in that first round, then maybe it could be going to them. But you know, who knows? I'm not the one making the important decisions. We're just sitting out here talking about what the teams could be doing, is speculating about what's happening, and looking forward to seeing them, step out on the battlefield. And I mean, if you want to talk about a game to win, this is definitely going to be Blackwater's match to win, right? They have to win this match if they're looking to move through and, acquire those 2 match points.
Yeah, well, I actually want to say that J-Star once again is feeling the pressure more so than Blackwater. Blackwater does have that one game already in the bag. And so this is just a repeat, not saying that we're repeating matches, but this is a repeat of the feeling for J-Star where all the pressure lies on them. 1 loss, they've already had that. They can afford that. 2 losses, game over.
Yeah, 100%. So they got to keep the tensions high, or the pacing really high, to make sure that they are able to try and close that one out all the way through. So I do think that this next match is going to be an absolutely insane one to see what both these teams are going to be bringing out. And I mean, if the J-Star are going to be looking to pick up the victory here, I honestly do think that they'll have to put in an absolute mountain of points. Well, a mountainous gap, right? A beautiful gorge. They'll need to establish a gorge, right? Let's go for gorge. That's the kind of lead that they need to try and secure. So it's going to be a big rush and shock play coming through from J-Star. But, you know, we're only mere moments away from finding out what these teams are bringing on through as we kick off our third round. And now both teams are going to be fighting it out to see who will be walking away with that match point.
Oh, match 3, let's get it. Now, this is both teams trying to come out on the all-out, pure aggression. They both want to do what Blackwater was able to do in round 1, which is establish that immediate gap and ride the momentum. Because neither team wants to be in that position where they have to hold off and have a standoff come in-game. Neither team wants that. Oh, but once again, they're so evenly matched.
Oh, I mean, we have not seen teams perform like this in our previous matchups, so it's really exciting to have this happen right here with J-Star and Blackwater. But as we can see, both teams evening out that board all the way across. Both teams sitting on 2 points apiece, and now it is going to be Blackwater looking to move through center, essentially trying to wrap around and come in with a bit of an off-angle play, but J-Star picks up the next point, and it is going to be Malkin now reaching all the way across, just evening it out once again, but with that, it is going to be Thunderson rushing forward. Paquito also looking for a slice of that find the points now, just start raking on in.
Yeah, you know, this goes kind of, it makes sense, you know. J-Star really is playing a bit more passively than either of us predicted, but I get why. Blackwater, with that little cushioning, they are coming out on the all-out aggressive, but they are putting themselves in open vulnerability, and J-Star just picking them off from the corners. But in doing so, that little brief low moment on health, that's all Blackwater needs to retaliate. And they do so, evening up the score.
I mean, it's going to be tough here for J-Star to get enough of a lead going, as we can see Paquito now getting rushed. Sad and Pizza Boy on the aggression here, looking to move on through Vakino, trying to come in with a bit of a jump shot there. Up comes a full send, but it's not going to be enough as it is Blackwater now regaining the lead once again.
And just as we saw in match 1, the difference that 5 seconds can make is an absolute monster. They've already established a 6-point lead in a matter of 15 seconds. 7 points, 6 points. This is Blackwater in full form.
Yeah, I want to know what they drink, right? Like, there's something special in their water. Definitely there has to be. I'd love me a bottle of that stuff, you know, for when it's needed, because, I mean, Blackwater, this is just an absolutely phenomenal performance coming in. Already a 5-point lead being locked in by them, and now they're going to be looking to do even more. As Paquito reaches across, but now, oh, look at that. Zach is stepping up to the plate and holding on. But of course, J-Star relentless, right? They are still going to try and chase those points.
Yeah, but again, I am seeing J-Star trying to hold the corner, whereas Blackwater is not afraid to put themselves out there. And because Blackwater has that aggression, they're catching J-Star off guard here and there. And they're even widening the gap even further here. Now it's a 6-point lead.
Wow.
Malkin,
I mean, Blackwater.
Drop shot. Oh! And putting work on work, getting 2 kills back to back.
I mean, this is a runaway performance coming in from Blackwater, so this is going to be such a tough play for J-Star now. All Sad and the rest of the squad needs to do here for Blackwater is just maintain the momentum, and look at that, Sad stepping up with a double trade, and it is going to be Percussion coming in, just picking up that one.
It's all boils down to the intensity and the momentum that Blackwater has been able to build up and maintain. J-Star was able to match that momentum kill for a good portion of time, but when they let their guard down for a brief second, Blackwater seems to capitalize. When they get a gap in there, they're getting a 2 or 3 kill gap in a matter of 2 seconds. It's just J-Star putting their guard down. A brief moment is all Blackwater needs to establish a 10, 11-point lead.
To win.
I mean,
Blackwater
5 points.
Games.
this is all that's needed, right? Blackwater needs 5 more points, and then this round is theirs, walking away with those 2 match points. But it's not over until it's over. J-Star, now we know that they are capable of making an insane comeback, as we see. They're now picking up that point. Now down to 9 we go, back to 10. We are 2 points left for Blackwater. Let's see whether or not Blackwater will be able to lock it in. 1 point left on the board. There we go. 40 to 29, so 11-point lead coming in there for Blackwater, picking up their 2nd point, and with that, they secure themselves a move on to the next phase. Absolutely insane performance coming in from both these teams, but Blackwater just being able to dominate this last round.
Yeah, it came down to a difference in initial strategy. Who comes in guns blazing right off the bat? And it seems, you know, Blackwater in match 1 shined, absolutely dominating the first 30 seconds to 45 seconds of the game. Coming in here again, you saw J-Star try their best to match that momentum, and they were able to do so. They are just almost right at each other's necks in terms of skill here, but it's one brief moment. One brief moment where 2 guys let their guards down, 3 points, 4 points on the board, 4-point gap established in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely insane to see, but a very satisfying performance coming in from both these teams. And, you know, fortunately for Blackwater, it worked out in their favor. But also, I got to say, I see Lewis asking in the chat, in Espanol, please, il ni hablo español. I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately. If I could, I think we would have maybe added in a little bit of that Spanish flavor. But, you know, like, I can speak Afrikaans. That's the best I can do aside from English, you know, so I don't think that's going to fly all too much right here, but a very satisfying performance coming in across the board. And that means that the players from Blackwater are going to be moving on to the next phase, which also then leads us to Loops coming up next, going up against the players there from Master Rush. So I think that's going to be a very exciting matchup as well.
Absolutely. Loops is, I'll admit, I haven't got to watch Loops too much, but I have heard, you know, amazing things. Now, Master Rush, not so, I haven't heard too much about these guys, so I am curious how they're going to come in right off the bat. And as we've seen, you know, momentum is everything. You know, is Loops, I think we'll have to see in the chat, who do y'all think is going to come out immediately guns blazing, Loops or Master Rush? My guess is that the viewers are going to expect it from Loops.
Yeah, I'm also expecting it from Loops, right? Because I've seen Loops play in, you know, all the different PMPLs and, you know, a lot of the events. Yes. So they've got a reputation that they've built up, and, you know, the expectation is there. They got to live up to the reputation. So it's going to be a little bit of pressure coming in on Loops, but who knows? Maybe we could have a very surprising performance coming through there from Master Rush as well.
Hey, majority of the viewers expected J-Star to come out decimating Blackwater, and look what happened. You know, nothing is certain in a TDM fight.
Oh yes, that's for certain, right? That's the only thing that's for certain, is that nothing is for certain moving through into these engagements. But yeah, so I'm definitely expecting, as I said, Loops to come in with a strong performance, but I'm open to a very surprising play coming in there from Master Rush official as well. So, you know, like, take it whichever way. You know, this is the beauty about TDMs.
You know, everyone's expecting the advantage in Loops' favor, but that could actually play to Master Rush's benefit. Coming in as an underdog where not a lot of it is expected of you, that could be pretty advantageous. They can catch Loops off guard.
Yeah,
and
definitely could.
So.
I mean, they could run loops around loops, right? That is exactly what they could be doing. Who knows whichever way this is going to unfold, and all we got to do is wait for the teams to get into that engagement. But some very fast-paced performances coming in here. We've already had a beautiful run coming in from People Ruthless, taking the victory on their side with a 2-0 win. We also had the players there from Chaptan also coming in with a 1-0 victory in their favor, I believe that was. Then we had Phantom Reborn, a very tough play, but once they moved into that second match, you know, it was a very comfortable play coming in from them. And of course, looking at what we just had between Blackwater and J-Star, I mean, it is tough. So some really good pairings coming out with these teams, and there's not one particular team that is really showing a lot of dominance here. It is very contentious, very much neck in neck, and I think that results in some very, very exciting gameplay coming through.
Yeah, well, this is the cream of the crop, the best of the best. Just think about it. 500 teams dwindled down to 32. Absolute nightmare for, I mean, to get to where you are, you should feel proud of yourself. But
Yeah.
we're getting into the next match, Master Rush versus Loops Esports.
Yeah, well, we've got a prediction coming in there for Loops through in the chat from Jonil Antoine, I assume. Sorry if I mispronounced it, I'm trying, but I'll say I was right. So, first shout out coming in for Loops. So, it's going to be 1-0 in favor for Loops with regards to shout outs. But let's see now what these teams are going to be bringing on through, as it is with Master and Loops holding strong. No first blood being brought in just yet. But there we go. Eclipse is going to be the first one to go on down.
Wow. Demeanor really capitalizing here. 2 of the 3 kills belonging to him, just shining through from the middle of the warehouse. And that's it. Not an easy position to hold. That's a warehouse that's vulnerable from 4 different angles. Not an easy place to hold. But look at this. Loops coming through, keeping that little 2-point gap going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's quite difficult in the beginning, right, to get that kind of lead set up. But once it's there, all you got to do is then just kind of ride on that momentum and just keep on the pressure. And now, as we can see, it does seem like Masters are taking a little bit of a different approach here, trying to instead have Loops come up to them. But I mean, looking at Loops being Loops, right? That is not the best strategy, as Loops are going to come and, you know, kind of pick you up right where you're hiding.
Yeah, absolutely. Do check your inbox, by the way. All right, we got Toyko holding position. Oh, and there was a 2-on-1. The numbers just were not in Master Rush's favor as Loops just ganged up, and that is how they're able to gap in that lead. Loops really controlling the situation here.
Oh, well, let's go. Eclipse now getting traded off as well. That 4-point deficit being brought on through. So let's see what the teams are going to be able to do as the tensions continue to go. And
that's
look
Loops
at that.
with a 33% lead over Master Rush.
Out comes the statistics, right? Out comes the statistics, but it is now. I'm not going to break it down into statistics. It is, however, a 7-point lead. Oh, make that back onto 6. Oh, back onto 7. Loops now just raking on points. Oh, make that 8. It is an absolute beautiful play. I mean, Loops now living up to expectations. Look at this now. It is insane. I can't even find words to describe what I'm witnessing here.
Yeah, honestly, I had just messaged DK saying, hey, I have to go to the bathroom break. Do you mind covering for me? And he says, yeah, no problem. I am so glad that I did not go right when I did, because I would have missed all of it. Loops just shining through with a 10-point gap already, almost doubling Master Rush. This is a massacre.
Yeah, I mean, when it's TDM time, there is no time for bathroom breaks. So we can see Loops now just moving on to yet again that 10-point lead. It was 11. There we go. Back onto 11. Back onto 10. Now onto 12. Wow, absolute relentless effort being brought in by Loops. And up comes another great play.
And
back
you can
onto 12 they
the
go.
Momentum. You can feel Loops riding the momentum. You can feel Master Rush, the pressure that they must have on them right now. Just pretty discouraging to have the other team double your points this early on in the game. It's not looking very good here. Things are looking a little bit grim for Master Rush, but they are going to have to keep their head together, their focus together. But look, Loops literally doubling them in kills.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at it, Loops just jumped up, right? Bringing in probably about 15 points in just the last minute. Now, this is an absolute insane rush. Of course, with that, Masters still trying to be in contention here as they do find a few hits. There we go.
Yeah.
Demeanor coming in with a beautiful hit as well now.
It was interesting. Toyko had used up all the ammo from his gun and was resorting to his pistol there.
Red team victory.
Oh my goodness. Loops just a massacre on Master Rush.
Yeah, I mean, loops were running loops there. I mean, that is
Yeah.
the best description of what we can say of what just unfolded on that screen. And I mean, in the beginning, it was pretty tough to say what these teams are going to be doing. Masters looked, pretty decent right out of the gate. But I mean, once loops built up that momentum, they were just so unstoppable and just coming in like a freight train almost.
I like your bad dad joke about loops running loops around Master Rush. Let me go take that and match it. It looks like loops were the master of rushing in this case. Bad
Oh, yeah.
joke for bad joke. Let's go. Well, if you are Master Rush in this scenario, you have never felt the pressure more so than you do right now. You're probably feeling a little discouraged. You got to shake that off. You don't have time to feel discouraged. You need to get on your game and get on it right now. You need to come in right off the bat, guns a-blazing, and establish an immediate point gap between yourself and loops. That's the only way I see it. Granted, we could see a more evenly paced match, but I'm predicting after a victory like that, literally doubling Master Rush's kills, I'm expecting a loops win.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if that happens, but again, this is going to be that opportunity now for Master to come back strong. And they've seen now kind of what the approach is coming in from loops, so I'm not sure if they'll be able to bring in a kind of counter approach for that moving into this next round. I mean, if they're not able to do that, it is going to be one in the bag there for loops, bringing in a back-to-back victory, a quick easy streak. And I mean, looking at the momentum that loops were able to hold there, they were just absolutely demolishing the side there of Master Rush. And as you said, rightly so, being the masters of rushing in that first round. But we'll see who will be the team to come out supreme, or yes, let's go supreme right in this next matchup.
Who is going to reign supreme? We'll have to, only time will tell. We all have our predictions. We all have our expectations. Never more so than after the first round. That was a beatdown. That was a beatdown. Let's just call it what it is. But you cannot let that get to you if you're Master Rush. You have to be on the ball come match 2. And you cannot let that inertia from round 1. You cannot let loops ride that. You have to take them off their feet, and you have to do it fast right off the bat. Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Here comes round 2. Master Rush versus loops.
Yeah. Now, as we saw in the previous matchup, it's not outside the world of outside the realm of possibilities for Masters to come in with a great comeback. But the pressure is going to be on as loops now already starting to try and play the angles. We've got the Toyko now just holding up alongside, as they would say in the fancy words, the concrete block or the cement block, whichever one you want to go for, with the trade-offs now working out in favor. But Master now coming under quite a bit of pressure as Jonas gets picked up, but Toxic picks up a quick one in exchange as well.
Loops, very confident. Confident is an understatement here. Putting themselves out in the open, rushing into open land, open space. They feel that they are outskilling Master Rush, and they feel confident enough to put themselves in that vulnerable position. And somehow, it's paying off for them. Master Rush is really feeling the heat and making some brutal mistakes here. Eclipse able to get his first kill there and then, but is it going to be enough? 6 to 10. Already, Loops almost doubling Master Rush's kills yet again.
Yeah, just one Elam away for Loops, before they start doubling up. And now let's see whether or not, yes, indeed, they do get it. But Eclipse stepping up with a quick trade there. Now putting them back onto 4 points as we have yet another play come in. And again, now this is where Masters could just look to try and build up their own momentum, only trailing by 4 points, so it is still possible. There we go, back onto 5 as Loops pick up yet another point. But now Toxie trying to play that position, trying to just play these cover angles. Oh, but it's not going to be enough as they get traded right off. But Eclipse going at it once again.
And it looks like Master Rush is starting to try to hold their position, starting to hold the angles, hold the corners of these crates. But unfortunately for them, Loops is coming out so aggressively and so confidently, they're expecting it. They're expecting those corner campers, and they know where to fire.
Yeah, I mean, like, that strategy would work against any other team, I guess, right?
I think
it's
so,
tough
yeah.
to say. But, I mean, looking at Loops' approach, I don't think there's many other tactics that could really work against them as they come in with the kind of the epitome of shock and awe, right? They are just brutal, moving in, just letting no space for anything to work out there for the players of Master.
What I love about Loops is that everyone is carrying their weight. All of them are heavy hitters here. Not one person carrying 3/4 of the kills. Every last one of them is an all-out aggressive heavy hitter, and it shows as they have a 9-point lead over Master Rush with 7 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, I mean,
to see that clock make it down to 0 at all.
No, probably not. But I mean, looking at this, it does seem like, you know, the players here from Master are really trying to catch up, looking to see if they can close that gap. Only a 7-point difference now. As we have, ooh, there we go. All right, make that 5 now, as it is going to be Masters looking to close it out back onto 4. They go. A quick play coming in from Loops as they now push it back onto 5, back onto 6. It is going to be Chief, a little bit low on health, still holding on to those 6 points. We can see Master looking to make a comeback. Beautiful rush coming in as Chief now also gets picked right up. 6-point difference hanging in the balance. And it's still working out in favor there of Loops as they pick up yet another elimination, making it now onto 7, back onto 6 we go. I sound like I'm very indecisive, but this is just how insane these teams are. Of course, Loops now picking up yet another trade. Back they go onto their 7-point lead. Oh, but it is going to be Masters now looking to rush their way on through, not wanting to have Loops pick up yet another match point. Only 5 points left on the board. Let's see whether or not Loops will be able to close this one in. 8-point difference. Make that now a 9-point difference onto 10. Back to 9. Oh, look at Loops now going absolutely crazy. 1 point left for Loops to try and bring, and they succeed. Moving on through, picking up their 2nd match point, and with that, they move on to the next phase. But whether or not, I mean, that was absolutely insane. I mean, up they came with such an aggressive performance, and Loops just locking that one in the bag once again.
You know, it's funny, when I stepped away for about 30-40 seconds, and when I did, there was about 14 points left to go for Loops, and they were able to capture the dub in that brief moment. Brief moment. Loops coming out guns a-blazing with the most deserved dub I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolutely insane play coming in there from Loops, right? They stepped up, they dominated the first match, finishing on an 18-point lead, if I'm not mistaken. Coming into this next one, yes, okay, it wasn't an 18-point lead, but instead they finished off on a 11-point victory. Still a very impressive performance coming through there, but Loops now, they just playing in this game so differently, just like aggression all the way around, right? They're not going to sit back and wait for any team to present them with the opportunity. Instead, they go out there, they go looking for it, and they just capitalize on every opportunity they can find.
Well, I hate to bring up poker, but I feel like this is the same tactic. They are using the bully strategy. They've got a dub under their belt, and so they come out bullying Master Rush. They come out with the big stack and high bet everything, and that's exactly what Loops did. They came out putting themselves, ironically, in very vulnerable positions. Very vulnerable positions out there to get that kill, and yet they were so confident in doing so, it caught Master Rush off guard, and they got.
Yeah, they definitely did got. So that one. Let's go.
My coin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to say something in response to that, and I realized I ran out of English. So, you know what? It's fine. I'll just say c'est la vie, you know. It's not Spanish, it's French, but whatever. It's still a foreign language to some extent. But again, a very, very impressive performance coming in there from the side of Loops. I feel sorry based on their performance right now. I feel sorry for who's ever going up against them next, because I mean, Loops are really setting themselves up so beautifully.
Well, it's going to be either Straight Outta or GKS that is going to fall on, and I'm not too acquainted with either of these teams, so I'm pretty in the open here. This could go to either team here. I have no predictions for this one. I'm just pure excited just to see what happens. I have nothing to guess for once.
Yeah, I mean, this is again one of those opportunities where we are very open to teams, stepping up rather than surprising us. So it could go to either Straight Outta or, as you said, GKS Esports. I also see that Roman 3 Gaming in the chat said, but it's June, right? We know this is the Cinco De Mayo June edition. Thank you so much for joining in. As we get into a little bit of that deathmatch CDM action. And so far, a very sweaty day. Of course, as we can see, we still have only 3 more matchups to go, right? Straight Outta up against GKS, followed up by Astronomy and eStorm. And then, of course, we finish off with a little bit of that, K19 and Masatos.
That's going to be, I am really looking forward to K19 and Masatos. Both teams have participated in my own events, and both teams know how to shine through. I'm K19 with some notable players in their name as well, so I am curious to see how that's going to go. But Straight Outta and GKS is what we got on the table right now. I am curious to see. Do you have any predictions, my man? Have you heard
the team, the team with the gun, that one, the one that's got ammo. Yeah, the one that's got ammo. That's the safest prediction I could go, right? If I had to pick, it has to be between those two. I'm gonna go for GKS because I like the colors they use in their logo, right?
All right.
That's as good as a reason I can come up with.
I like this, the strategy we're coming out here. I'm gonna go for Straight Outta because why not? Neither of us has a stake in the matter, so might as well put a little gambling on it. $5 bet.
Right. Yeah, for you $5 is not much. For me, $5 is a bit because of exchange rate, right? Exchange rate. So, yeah, let's just go with let's just go with yes. Okay, fine.
Well, guys, who do you guys think is going to take it? Straight Outta or GKS? Let's see it in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, we're open to predictions. I mean, we've seen some predictions come in for J-Star before, and then Blackwater just absolutely running away with their performance there. In the previous one, we did have one shout out going out to Loops there, and of course, Loops stepped up. So, well, yeah, curious to find out what you guys' predictions are coming into this one. As you said there, Red Eyes, it is going to be either Straight Outta or the players coming through from the side there of, I already forgot the name. I'll get it right now. I have it right here, and of course GKS. Yeah, it's I said I'm rooting for GKS, and then I blank out on the name, right? That's just the way it works.
What's interesting about today is that we've seen all scenarios take place. We've seen, teams be at each other's necks, point for point, changing point for point, to the point where we had a 39v39 standoff. And then we've also seen what a big bully on campus looks like as Loops decimated Master Rush. What are we going to see with GKS versus Straight Outta? No time to waste. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, it's action time as we get straight into the fighting there between the teams. Of course, there's going to be Straight Outta going toe-to-toe there with GKS. So, I'm rooting for GKS. Red, are you rooting for Straight Outta? I see why, because it's all red and your name has red in it as well.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So, let's go. Let's go.
All right. A clean slate, 0v0. GKS Tonka with the AK-47 putting a distance spray down and actually hitting pretty good shots, however taking more damage than able to dish out, and GKS putting the first kill on the board.
Oh.
Straight Outta wasting no time though. Oh, Tonka with one heck of a performance, back-to-back takedowns.
And I mean, before you were talking about you were talking about the AK for closer engagements and the M4 for the more, longer range. But I mean, looking at that performance coming in through from Tonka, Tonka's just running that AK wherever, right? Close range, long range, whatever it is, they'll just step up and spray on through. But now it's also going to be up to Kollega now trying to hold on as we see a little bit of a play coming in, but also GKS now starting to create a bit of a lead here.
Yeah, absolutely. A 6-point gap, 7-point gap I am choking on my gamble here. It's not too late to change bets, I hope. But goodness gracious, Tonka just decimated. 6-point lead in GKS's favor. They are shining through.
Yeah, shining bright like shining bright like an absolute and dominating performance. 8-point lead working for GKS, as we did see Rivas picking up that last one, but up comes Rivas again. Oh, yes, sirree. Steps on through.
I think we might be seeing a repeat of the Loops Master Rush altercation here.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. 12, 13-point gap. I can't even get through the point lead that GKS has over Straight Outta before the gap is widened.
I mean, GKS... Yeah, like, this is insane, right? Achilles going straight for the Achilles here, yeah, right? Not even letting the players even venture out of that position, just rushing up right onto their front door and just waiting for Straight Outta to get straight out of that spawn and sending them right on back.
And oh, now we see Master Rush trying to start holding positioning, and it is not working out in their favor. Oh, see, they're again trying to relocate to behind the cement crate, but oh, actually it did favor out. He was able to get a kill, and look, now we have Straight Outta finally starting to put some points on the board here. Literally doubled by GKS's score, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see the players there from Straight Outta starting to build up that momentum, but all they got to do is now try to push it as they are able to kind of just close that gap really slowly. 13-point lead, of course, coming right on through, but with that, it is going to be GKS now just stepping back onto 14, making 15, 16-point lead. This is absolutely insane coming in.
So, Straight Outta, even if they are able to collect themselves and get their momentum at this point, I think it is too late in this match. It seems GKS just came in with the confidence and momentum to just decimate the situation, and even if Straight Outta finds their footing, it's too late. GKS is going to put up those last 7 kills over however long it takes for Straight Outta to get like 18 points on the board, 17, 18 points.
Oh.
And oh, GKS can taste the chicken on the tip of their tongue here. And boy, they're not just making a win here, they are sending a message.
Oh, like that is signed, sealed, delivered, as Tonka now also gets straight off, but only 4 points remains for GKS to have this first round locked in their favor. Of course, it is going to be Achilles now coming up with a bit of a rush, gets straighted, down they go. Now, this could be that opportunity for Straight Outta to make a beautiful comeback. We can see Tonka also super low on that health, but fortunately, that regen is working out. 2 points now left. Oh, there we go. Pocoyo coming in with a quick hit, but oh, it is downhill from here.
And it's 1 point separating GKS from victory, and that point is going to be acquired soon, potentially. Oh, babe, you know.
Oh.
Hey, I'd love to choke on my words. I would love to see Straight Outta come back at this point. They are shortening that gap, 10 points.
Oh, come on. Beautiful rush coming in, and there we go. GKS have it locked on in 29 to 40. So 11-point lead coming in. Sorry, math failing me there a little bit, but it was also a 4v3 matchup coming in as well.
See, I was not all that aware of the number advantage there that GKS had over Straight Outta. It's starting to make a little bit more sense. And talk about a fatal error. If you are Straight Outta, you do not want to be entering the semifinals here without a full team. You need your members. And GKS just capitalized.
Yep. I mean, especially in TDMs, it is a numbers game, right? You need to have even numbers, right? So if the opposing team has 3, if the opposing team has 3, you should also then try to have at least, a minimum of 3. But if it's a 4-player squad that you're going up against, I mean, you need all your participants there. Otherwise, it's so difficult to actually try and maintain any potential positions and be in contention, because as we saw there, GKS coming in with an absolutely runaway performance, a beautiful victory coming in favor of them. But hopefully moving into the second round, we could see a little bit of a difference play potentially coming on in with GKS then being contested, as you know, we're still to see Straight Outta come through with a full squad.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, a 3v4, you're just outmanned and outgunned. Hopefully, Straight Outta realizes this and is able to bring in their fourth for this, because they are going to need it. They are not going to have to just come back, but they're going to come back with a vengeance if they want a shot at GKS.
Yeah, they're going to have to really dial it in to moving into this next matchup. But as we know, at this point in time, it still could be anyone's game. As we can see, GKS up on a full squad, but it is going to be Straight Outta also pitching up with all 4 of their players. So this is now going to be a match to see.
Yeah, a little bit more evenly paced here. Boy. And this is what I was hoping to see. Right off the bat, trading kill for kill. A little bit closer of a fight.
Yep.
And
much closer.
Has to be extremely confident in the
Mm.
They just have to be. Now, the question is, how are they going to act under that, I guess, pressure or lack of pressure, for that matter?
Yeah, because I mean, they've already got that first match point in, right? So, I mean, worst comes to worst, we move into that 3rd round, but it does seem like Straight Outta are really now trying to catch up for that point deficit.
Yeah, but I'm seeing GKS repeat round 1 here, already almost doubling Straight Outa's points. This is not what you want to feel if you're Straight Outta this early on in game. You do not want to feel GKS doubling your point. That is going to be the most discouraging, and confidence and momentum mean everything in a TD.
Yeah, it does certainly. But now, as we can see, a 4-point difference coming in. There we go. Oh, it was back onto 3, then jumps straight back into 4. As GKS is not going to allow any players coming through here from Straight Outta. But as we say that, it is now down to a 6-point lead in favor of GKS. And it is an absolute relentless push coming through as both teams are chasing that match point.
Well, yeah, your question is, if Straight Outta is going to play things a little bit more passively, it looks like that's not going to be the case. Straight Outta still going out and putting themselves in that vulnerable position. I'm kind of surprised to see it 2 games in a row, because that strategy did not play so favorable in round 1. So I'm surprised to see that they're repeating that same mistake.
Yeah. But I mean, that was a beautiful play coming through there from Iron that we saw, you know, that double play in there. But of course, now it is going to be such a difficult push already. Back onto a 5-point gap we go. So there's definitely a lot of pressure being brought in here by Straight Outta, as they're being quite contentious and still not going to be handing it over on towards GKS. But GKS just being able to maintain their lead.
Yeah, this isn't as much of a massacre as last match, but it is a beatdown nonetheless, currently. But as I say that, we do see Straight Outta closing that gap potentially. Well, as soon as I say it, they're back to a 7-point gap. Well, there have been, let me rephrase it this way. There have been a few periods here where it looks like Straight Outta might be on the cusp of a comeback, but it looks less and less likely as GKS has now established an 11-point lead, just leading now by 33%.
Yeah, and I mean, GKS, they're just coming in waves, right? So they send 2 players up, followed up by 2 more. So a very aggressive approach coming in here from GKS. And so far, it is working out absolutely phenomenally for them. They only need to try and secure 4 more points. So this is going to be, the play now for Straight Outta to try and make their comeback. But of course, only 2 points left on the board. Straight Outta now really trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Let's see whether or not they'll be able to get that done. It is going to be Rivas coming up with 1, and there we go. The match point comes in. GKS picking up the 2nd match as well.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this is after seeing our previous fight between Loops and Master Rush, and now seeing Straight Outta versus GKS, I was going to say, who is going to be able to handle Loops? Who is going to be able to go out and give Loops the kind of contest that they're looking for? Well, it might be GKS. They can match that. It looks like GKS might be able to match the aggression of Loops. And that's a pretty good thing, because I think we are going to see them face off.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, it's gonna be spicy AF to see GKS and the players there from Loops going toe to toe. So I mean, quite a bit of excitement to come from that matchup. But of course, speaking about matchups, next up we are going to be looking at Astronomy and the players there from Esports stepping out onto the field, looking to show us what they've got up their sleeves and who's going to be the team to bring in the domination into our next matchup.
Yeah, well, again, we are entering this without much knowledge of either team here, so I'm willing to put a bet on the logo if you are, but given how that last time went, I'm not so sure I'm ready to lose another $5 to you. But Astronomy versus Esports moving forward, and then we are going to be followed up by K19 versus Masatos. So plenty of action still to go.
I mean, this next logo decision is going to be a difficult one, right? Because both logos look pretty cool. Like, I like the Esports one, you know, the yellow and the kind of helmet skull look that it's got to it. But I mean, I also appreciate the one coming in from the side there of Astronomy, and you know, a little bit of that spaceman look coming in there as well. So I'll go with Astronomy because it's just out there, you know, why not?
All right. Well, I'm gonna go for Esports because it's the other team that's left. So make it a contest here. But yeah, we're gonna have only time will tell who's gonna be taking it, Astronomy or Esports, followed by K19 versus Masatos. Goodness gracious, I am blown away by the action that we have had today, DK. Blown away. We have seen every kind of play style possible. We have seen the beatdowns. We have seen the standoffs. We've seen the 39v39 tiebreakers. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Not much else, right? Really not much else. The team's really delivering on the action front there. So it's been a very exciting day so far. But as we know, right, 2 matchups left to go to see who's going to be stepping on through. So my prediction, as I said, is going to go with Astronomy. I'd love to hear what the viewers are thinking. So be sure to hit us up in the chat. Already see one shout out coming in there for Esports. And then we also had Roman3 Gaming saying straight out of needed Zeno to be on their team to have a chance. So 2 shout outs now coming in there for Go Esports. So it does seem like they are going to be at least the fan favorite for now.
Yeah, well, based on the 1 vote, yeah, sure. And listen, I'm willing to put any confidence in the team that I gamble on. So it's good news to see it. But guys, no time to waste. Oh, this is just the bracket. All right, Astronomy versus Esports, followed by K19 versus Masatos to end the night.
Well, I mean, Esports, they are sitting on a 3-0 lead, right? At least with regards to shoutouts coming in the chat. So, I mean, who knows what will happen? I'm going to stick with Astronomy. Maybe the stars will align for them. Who knows, right? Anything can happen at this point, as they haven't started on the battlefield just yet. But we are mere moments away from seeing what both these teams are going to be bringing out onto the field. Yul, now comes the tricky question, right? Like, what kind of matchup, what kind of play are we expecting here, right? Are we expecting a kind of performance like we saw between the previous 2 matchups with, you know, the aggression coming in there from Loops and GKS? Or are we looking at a little bit more of a more balanced kind of play coming through, like we had, for instance, with you know, Blackwater and J-Star?
Well, I'm going to predict that we're going to see the aggression that we've seen for the past 2 matches. And the reason I'm going to say that is because whether it's Astronomy or Esports, whether it's K19 or Masatos, those winners of that fight are going to have to face off with the winners of Loops and GKS. And Loops and GKS, no matter what, you're up against a full-on aggressive team. So that whole corner holding is not going to play out well. So I expect all-out aggression from both of these teams if they want a shot at handling Loops or GKS.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be a lot of sweatiness coming through on that front. So, I mean, the order of the day is we're going to be hoping to see a lot of aggression because, as you said, rightly so, right? Whoever wins from this kind of pairing will have to go up against whoever wins between Loops and GKS. And as we just witnessed, both those teams being quite aggressive and not really allowing for any mistakes to be made, because if they spot a vulnerability, they're just going to come hammering through on that. So whether it be Astronomy or Esports, They really have to, bear it all out on that battlefield and step up and just bring in a very dominating lead right out of the gate.
And another thing, I'm not sure how much this will play into effect, but the fact that they are going right after the Luke's Master Rush straight out of GKS altercations, the fact that the previous 2 matches that you've seen are as aggressive as it gets, what kind of game style do you think is going to be in your head moving into it? All out aggressive. That's what I predict. That's what we'll have to wait and see. But moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. So, it's also going to be a little bit of a challenge to step up to what we just saw happening there. But of course, as we can see, it is going to be Astronomy up against Esports. 2 really cool logos coming out here. The one really out there, the other one looking a little bit thunderous. As we can see, Storm looking to cook up something here. But, whichever way it will go, we don't know. But we even have a few other predictions coming in, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Well, yeah, no time to waste. We're going to get right into the action. We got Fear, Mystic, both pushing up. M4s in both hands. Oh boy, Paraboy with very little health to speak of. And there we have it. E-Storm already establishing a 2-point lead over Astronomy. T1013 holding back, trying to let his health rejuvenate, and you can't blame him one bit for that. He does not want to be giving up any needless kills like that. And still, even though while he's rejuvenating, he's able to get a takedown himself, securing his second kill and the team's second kill as well. He's carrying all the team's kills on his hands right now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a pretty tough one, right? This is a bit of a oof, right? It is going to be a 2v4 play, so no surprise really to see E-Storm already sitting on those 5 points. So it is going to be a pretty tough play for Astronomy to try and close that gap up. But I'd be super surprised if Astronomy actually pick up the dub on this one, as they seem to be the dark horse team right here.
Well, yeah, you know that it's a risky situation to stay back and hold base, but as a 2-person team, what other option do you really have but to let them push towards you and hold down that home base? You're holding down 2 different angles. It's your best shot, and it's not much of a shot to begin with. But let's give credit where credit is due. Astronomy not letting this match go too far away from them, only trailing by 3 kills.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive, right? That is impressive to see a 2v4, and I mean, there's such a close gap coming in between both these teams. But look at that, Anthony stepped up, picks up a point, but Paraboy comes in with a quick trade-off, sending them right back from whence they came. But now it's going to be, well, I'll call him Tidy because it looks like it almost says Tidy. I'm really bad with numbers and letters, but let's go for Tidy here. So Tidy trying to keep it all nice and tidy up on the top end here, not trying to get themselves into any unnecessary vulnerable positions.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are Astronomy, you don't have the luxury of mistakes. You don't have that luxury of putting yourself out into that vulnerable position. You don't have anyone really covering your back except for one person.
Yep.
And so that means if you are able to secure a kill, you need to relocate immediately, because otherwise you put yourself out into a vulnerable position where they have a 4-person team. That's pretty good odds that someone's going to retaliate on you, and fast.
Yeah, and all that Astronomy needs to do here is maybe just try and catch up, right, to where we see E-Storm currently being situated. But the Wolves keeping their eyes on all the walls surrounding them. Anthony and Tidy still just playing it quite cautiously. Can't really blame them whatsoever. I mean, still being able to maintain only a 4-point deficit, that speaks a lot as to the capabilities for Astronomy. But of course, we also have to take into consideration that neither of these teams are really pushing out super aggressively, seeing that, the odds are not really in favor of any of these teams here.
Yeah, I was just about to say something similar. It does surprise me to see E-Storm somewhat holding back here with a 33% lead over Astronomy, but they are still playing things pretty close to home. They can see that Astronomy has bowed out and is holding corners, and now E-Storm is left with that choice. Hey, we need Astronomy to put themselves out in the vulnerable position. We don't want to keep putting ourselves in the open. We've seen what happens when they do it. They close the gap up a little bit. So let's hold things back. Now, the problem with that is we might be left with another standoff. Another 39 v 39 situation could be on our hands here if these two teams are left a little too cautious.
Yeah, but what I appreciate from what we're seeing right now, right, aside from the aggression coming through from Eaststorm right there, is it's very sportsman-like behavior, right? Eaststorm, they've been able to identify that they're only up against 2 players, right? So they're not going to step up and you know, just bully the players there from Astronomy into that victory, right? They still want to see what Astronomy can do with only 2 players up. And so far, it's a really good performance coming in there from the side of Astronomy.
Amazing performance on their end to hold 10 to 14. That's really good as a 2-person team. Very good as a 2-person team. But talk about a fatal error on Astronomy's end to enter into the semifinals as just a 2-piece. Automatically puts you at such a drastic disadvantage. How could Eaststorm not capitalize?
Yeah, but I mean, still, Esports, it does seem like Eaststorm is, you know, like I said, they try to play sportsman-like, right? So they don't want to, you know, like they know, okay, cool, they've got the advantage. You know, it is, they outnumber the players there from the side of Astronomy considerably, but still they're holding their positions and, you know, waiting to see what Astronomy is going to try and bring out from this. So I got to respect that quite a bit. I mean, that to me means more than them just rushing forward and just, you know, getting a very dominating bully-ish kind of performance, you know, victory as well.
Now, you could be right. Maybe it is good sportsmanship. I think that it could be a little something different. Maybe just they don't want to give up that advantage. They don't want to give up that gap, and they don't want to cut any corners. Oh, Anthony trying his best, getting a takedown, but being taken down immediately after. And this is where we see Eaststorm start to shine here with a 6-point lead. Anthony doing his best. Yeah, once they get that kill, they're immediately taken down. Mystic there with a finish of his own. Anthony holding on to 6 of the team's 12 kills. Both members of Astronomy carrying their weight here. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, say what you want about this. This is not a beatdown.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
but
not a beatdown.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, this is a very respectful performance coming in from Eaststorm and Astronomy, right? Like Astronomy, they try to make a play. Esports allows them that opportunity, but once Eaststorm spots an opportunity that is working out favorably for them, they do come in and they do light up those hits. But look at this, Tidy coming in with a beautiful spray on towards Paraboy. Now, will he be able to pick up the next one onto Walls? We don't know, but we have Mystic also now moving on over towards that western side, or let's call it the left side, because we don't really know which side is up. But here we go, as Astronomy now looks to explore their options. Anthony taking a few blows, up comes a quick rush, but is able to hold Fear at bay.
And with very little health, still able to get the kill. Impressive. Beautiful drop shot, beautiful spray. Oh boy, I would love to see this Astronomy team as a full 4-piece against Eaststorm.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that with a performance this good between 2 players, that as a full 4-person team, this could have gone in Astronomy's favor. Very likely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, looking at the performance coming through here, right? Eaststorm, they're not playing. You know, it's not like they're giving those elims away to Astronomy. Astronomy is legitimately working for those, right? But still, a very respectable play coming in from both these teams. And look at Fear. Fear now getting caught in a very tough position as Tidy comes in with a beautiful trade. But with that, it is Tidy getting sent on back. And, I mean, what else can we say?
He resorted to a preemptive drop shot, but unfortunately for him, that was not so successful. Fear coming in from the side, getting an immediate takedown on Anthony. Mystic with 9 kills to his name. That's just about average.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Coming in, AK-47 in hand, able to get the takedown, but in doing so, putting himself in a vulnerable position where he was already lower on health, and Astronomy capitalizing. Only a 7-point gap. I'm genuinely impressed. After you had pointed out that this was a 2v4, I thought this was going to be a done deal. But you know what? As a 2-person team, kudos to Astronomy. Genuinely.
and I mean, yeah, and they're really playing it the best they can. I mean, at least that's what that's the impression I get from looking at the performance we've got happening right here. So you know, a lot of respect going out here to Astronomy, even though they're only a two-person team going up against a full squad. They are still making it contentious, right? And Eastorm also just respecting the opponents here, bringing in a very satisfying performance. But of course, at the end of the day, it's not going to be Eastorm letting anything slide as they do pick up the victory. And with that, it is going to be the first match point going out in their favor. So now we hope to see Astronomy potentially coming back with at least 3, potentially 4 players into this next round.
Yeah, I would love to see Astronomy as a 4-piece. Granted, I am seeing something in the chat saying, you know, if one person on your team is giving up too many kills, maybe it's better to participate as a 3-piece than a 4-piece. Granted, that is true, but as a 2-piece, that's just a little bit too much of a stretch. Just to win as a 2-piece is a huge upset. So, yeah, Astronomy, beautiful performance as a 2-piece. Absolutely phenomenal. But the numbers were just not in your favor. Just outmanned, outgunned.
But it was a very respectable performance coming in there from Eastorm, right? I wasn't expecting Eastorm to give the match over to Astronomy, right? But the way that they played it was very respectable, and that's what I appreciate so much from the performance coming through there from Eastorm, right? So, and what was so great is they would set themselves up very close to where Astronomy is, and then wait to see what Astronomy is going to be doing, right? So the moment Astronomy comes rushing out, they do try and take the opportunity, but if they are outgunned by Astronomy, that's the way it works. So I agree. I'd love to see Astronomy and a full squad stepping up, and who knows, we could maybe see that match point then turning in favor of Astronomy instead of Eastorm.
Yeah. So here's my prediction. If Astronomy comes back as a full 4-person team, I'm expecting an Astronomy win for round 2 and us to go to a tiebreaker.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that.
If they don't come in as a full 4-person team, I think it's game, set, match for Eastorm.
Yeah, I don't think Eastorm is going to do that for a second round, right? So if Astronomy comes back with only 2 players once again, Eastorm has already given them a great opportunity with being very respectable, but
then it's
you know,
bully tactic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to let it slide for a second time around. So curious to see whether or not the players here from Astronomy will be pitching up with a full squad. Or what could also be happening is if Astronomy is still only a 2-man team, maybe 2 players from the side there of Eastorm decide, you know what, 1 or 2 players from the side of Eastorm decide, you know what, maybe, you know, we'll sit this match out, right? That's just what I'm thinking or coming up with in my head. Whether that's going to be reality, we don't know. At the end of the day, Eastorm is not really in a position where they need to do that or have to do that, right? But it all comes down to how they feel about stepping onto the battlefield, going up against a team that only has 2 players in for whatever reason.
Yeah, my prediction would be that given the performance that Astronomy did as a 2-person, I don't see Eastorm playing the good sports about this and just saying, okay, you got a 2-person team, it's okay, we'll do a 2v2, because as a 2-person team, Astronomy carried only trailed behind by 33%. They had 3/4 of the kills. That's a 25% boost higher than they should have done as a 2-piece. You know, just based on statistics, they put up more damage than a 2-piece should. So you don't want to go against them 2v2. I think if that were the case, then Eastorm could be outgunned, potentially. Granted, there are names here on Eastorm that everyone recognizes, and no one is downplaying their skill. But basing it off the match. Well, no time to waste, guys. We're about to get into it.
Yeah, and the moment of truth is upon us. It is going to be Astronomy. Eastorm looking to step it on up. We're about to find out how many players Astronomy brought out onto the battlefield this time around. And without much further delay, here we are. So we're looking at Astronomy up ahead. It does seem like they've got 3 people in. Wow. This is now going to be something quite interesting to watch.
You said Astronomy is operating as a 3-piece?
Yeah. Yes,
okay,
sir.
So a 3v4 here. It's going to be a little bit closer to home. Now, if Astronomy is able to match their performance of round 1, this could be a dead-on even match, which makes very little sense. But we're basing it off statistics of the last match.
I mean, that's all we got to go on, right? That's all we have. I mean, we could also base our predictions on what we saw in Battle Royale, but that is clearly not indicative of what happens in these TDMs. So we can see Tidy now getting hit, but up comes Mystic with a beautiful rush onto Anthony. And now, oh, it is a little 1-point lead in favor there of Eastorm, but let's see whether or not they are going to be able to replicate their performance in the previous match. But again, I have to agree with you, right? Astronomy, if they step up and bring in the same kind of consistent performance that they had in that first round, this could be one very well locked in for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We could be in for a nice even match and potentially that tiebreaker. But no time to waste here, as Astronomy does even the odds, matching it up. Eastorm trying to capitalize, not going to let them enjoy that comfort zone for too long there. But you do bring up something very interesting, DK, is Battle Royale, the classic matches, the classic scrims, your KD, none of that, absolutely none of that is indicative of how you're going to perform in a TDM. This is a whole different beast where the action is almost non-stop. And what we were seeing one member looking like they might be AFK on Astronomy's end.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a oof. I'm quite sure what's really happening on that side, but it is going to be Tidy and Anthony now looking to rush on forward. And what I'm liking this time around is, like, you know, Eastorm, they said, you know what, you had your opportunity in that first round. You know, we were respectable, but now it is game on, right? You've got 3 players in. Now we're going to play this out, and it does seem like the players there from Eastorm are just rolling through with the punches here, as they are now sitting on a beautiful 7-point lead.
You know, Eastorm, it's one of those kind of tricky situations because they do have the confidence from round 1, from winning round 1. Yeah, absolutely they have the confidence, but they are not so oblivious to the fact of how Astronomy performed as a 2-person team. Now that they're entering as a 3-person, it is something to be taken a little bit of intimidation, take it seriously. And Eastorm knows that, and that's why they are not letting the pressure off, almost doubling Astronomy's kills. They want this to be a shutdown.
Yeah, but I mean, like as I was about to say, Astronomy is still being very contentious here, right? Even though they are at a disadvantage with the amount of players they've got coming in, they're only trailing behind by 5 points, and they are yet to replicate the kind of performance we saw coming through on that first match. But look at this now, Anthony trying to come in with a quick sneaky hit, but it's Tidy. Oh, and Anthony to pick up those sprays with that, now closing the gap onto 4 as Anthony gets traded off. It is Tidy now getting caught in between a rock and a hard place as the point is acquired. Mystic heading through with yet another play, and that now puts them back on a 7-point lead.
Yeah, Tidy really carrying a pretty heavy weight with 5 of the team's 13 kills. Really putting up a good performance there on his own end, but this is a team effort, guys. This is not this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. You are here for the long haul. You got to get your pressure on, and you have to maintain it for the entirety of this match. And unfortunately, Astronomy is having trouble doing so at this point. And I think you're right. We're not quite seeing the Astronomy that we saw last match. It looks like last match, I think Astronomy was playing things a little closer to home, a little bit more reserved. Now, it looks to me like they thought that might have been their downside, and so they're coming out into round 2, putting themselves into a little bit more aggressive gameplay. But the problem with that is they are making themselves vulnerable to Eastorm in doing that, just because they are outmanned and outgunned. And Eastorm really, it's easy for them to capitalize from there.
Yeah,
and they do.
Yeah, I mean,
17-point lead.
Yeah, and I mean, Eastorm, they're like, right, they like, the feeling that I get from them here is like, you know, if you want to come out and you want to rush out of your spawn and you want to fire away the hits, we got to meet you right on that one. We're going to step up toe to toe. And this is where, you know, Eastorm now stepping up to exactly what Astronomy is bringing to the table here. Even though Astronomy might not be rocking that full squad, we now see a 20-point lead coming in favor of Eastorm.
Yeah, another thing is that Eastorm might be a little bit discouraged. Even though they got the win, they weren't so impressed with how they performed as a 4-piece versus a 2-piece, and they know they're capable of so much more. And so they're coming in to round 2 with something to prove. They say this is not a match, this is a beatdown. which it absolutely was not last match, but this match,
I mean, you can only be respectable for so long, right? Once the
Yeah.
opposing team steps up to the challenge, right, then you gotta go like, oh, well, you know,
Victory.
no, we're not gonna be holding back on anything. And with that, it is another clear victory coming through there as the players from Eaststorm pick up their second match point. And with that, they move on to the next spot. But speaking about moving on, that then means next up, we've got a little bit of that K19 and Mosato's action about to come through right here out onto the arena.
yeah, yep. Well, you know, we are down to the K19 and the Masatos, but Eaststorm, the topic of conversation right now is Eaststorm and Astronomy. Astronomy really impressing us in the first match as a two-piece, but that was sort of their undoing in changing up their strategy for round two. Most teams, when they, you know, you get more members, yeah, you want to play things a little bit more aggressively, but they were still outmanned and outgunned. And that all-out aggressive tactic as a 3v4, it proved pretty disadvantageous for them.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with you. The strategy that they brought in on that first round was really way more beneficial for them. And looking at the second round, I would have maybe adopted a very similar kind of approach, seeing that they still have the man disadvantage, you know, the player disadvantage. So ideally, that's the kind of strategy that I think could maybe have worked out a little bit better. Of course, we won't really know because, you know, well, we can't really predict the future or anything like that. I've tried, I really suck at it. But, you know, a very favorable play coming in. I mean, much respect going out to Eaststorm. That first round, a very respectable play that they brought in, you know, allowing, well, taking into consideration that the opposing team only had 2 players. They were not looking to overly dominate, but still not let anything slide unnecessarily. But moving into the second round, it was, you know what? You've got 3 players in. Now let's play. They stepped up to the challenge, and again, now this time around, they were able to finish off even stronger than they did in the first round.
Yeah, Eaststorm saw that their method was not broken and they saw nothing to fix, and so they came in same tactic as round 1. This is where Astronomy met their fatal error. As you said, they were still at a disadvantage. As a 3-piece, they could have held back a little bit more reserved, held their corners, and maybe push Eaststorm out to the open. Maybe. And that would have been their best shot. That would have been their best shot. But I don't blame them for going out for an all-out aggressive gameplay. They said, well, we lost round 1, and that was a passive approach, but it was a 2-piece. And they did phenomenal as a 2-piece. We were not seeing that same Astronomy come the second match.
Yep, the stars really didn't align for them in that second match. But of course, speaking about next match, right? Next up, we are going to be having K19 and Mosato stepping on through. So now this is where I'm going to ask you, Red Eyes, what is your prediction coming through for these two teams? Who are you going to be rooting for?
Well, I'm going to predict that K19 comes out victorious, just because I'm a little more acquainted with their performances. They've participated in some of my events as well, and they are, you know, a tier 1 organization. Masato's Esports, very well accredited as well. I participate in a lot of events as well, but I'm not sure if they can match K19's reputation, at least. So my favor is going to be in for K19, but I love to root for an underdog. So time to get to it. K19 versus Masatos. Who's going to take it? Let's find out.
Yeah, it does seem like Mosatos are going to be bringing the heat based on their logo, but we'll find out what exactly it is that they have cooking for us. As, you know, we're still looking to see who gets that first blood. And both teams now looking, you know, quite decisive as to their angles here, but not allowing any of those points to come through just yet.
Yeah. Now, I am noticing some newer names on K19 that I'm not quite as acquainted with, so this is not the same starter team that I'm used to, but K19 nonetheless, as they take their first kill and their first point. Interesting how they're sticking together as a singular unit.
Oh, all right, so a 2-point lead in favor there of K19. Joey and the rest of the squad now looking for a few of these openings, but up comes Hypacito, looking to see if they can find anything. It is going to be Adaria. Oh, trading on up, picking up Nacho, saying this is Nacho building. Down they go. Beautiful hit coming in as Hypercito picks one up as well. 2.3 points ahead. This is looking pretty great for Masatos.
Masato's heard what I said, and they are angry about it. Clearly angry. K19 not ready to make it such a one-sided situation yet as they retaliate, taking themselves up to 6 points, only trailing by 1. But what an impressive performance by Masato's, getting that, in a matter of, 5-10 seconds, a 4-point lead. Unfortunately, they weren't able to hold on to it, but we'll see moving forward. Hypercito holding positioning here. M4 in hand. M416 in hand. And Frey just a little bit faster. Frey with 5 of the team's 10 kills, really shining.
Oh, yes. Oh, but Frey now also getting caught out in the fray as they too go down. It is up to Adaria. Now, looking for a bit of an opening. And see what K19 will be able to do here. Beautiful hit coming in there as it is going to be Masatos holding onto their 3-point lead. Up comes the rush, moving in. Up comes Colin. Oh, but Joey says, oh no, up comes Hypercito. Down goes Hypercito.
Oh my goodness. Nacho putting a full spray down. Responsible for just exactly dead on 25% of the team's kills, but they are still trailing, and they need to find a new way of coming back and fast. Nacho holding positioning here, not trying to give himself any points of vulnerability, but he just pulled up on by 2 members, outmanned, outgunned, and we've seen how that works out time and time again.
Yeah, we have seen how that kind of unfolds, but now it does seem like Masatos trying really hard to keep their lead, right? Holding on to those 2 points as much as they can. But with that, now pushing it a little bit further, picking up a 3rd one and see whether or not they'll be able now to get these favorable angles working as they look to push up a little bit more aggressively. But again, like K19 also coming in with some heavy hitting blows. The moment that there's a point being acquired by Masatos, it is K19 to rake one in right behind them.
Well, it's interesting you say that. It's because, and I think the reason for that being is that K19 is practicing a 2-2 split. And the reason they're doing is because when one is taken down, that leaves the other to retaliate on someone who's theoretically probably low on health. So yeah, it is a way to recover your kill. I get it. It comes with some disadvantages, comes with some advantages, and one of those advantages is the retaliatory kill.
Yeah. That is that's kind of just the way it kind of unfolds, or the way it happens. But with that, the scoreboard now gets evened out as it is K19 and Masato sitting on 22 points apiece. So now this is going to be that rush to see who is able to create a new bit of dominance coming in.
Yeah, well, both teams feeling the pressure. You know, it's kind of hard to get a sense of confidence when you're this evenly tied. You know, both teams riding the momentum as best as possible. But boy, you couldn't ask for a better final match to end the night with than 2 teams this evenly matched.
Oh yes, and now it all comes down to the angles. Nacho getting taken right on down.
Misato's
Beautiful
regaining that lead. And you know, I will say this, while they are fairly evenly matched here and the points are so close, I am going to withdraw my previous prediction and put the favor in Masato's just because they have been maintaining that lead for the majority of the match. It has been a close match the entirety of it, but Masato's have been able to maintain that lead for a good 60-70% of the match.
Ooh, yeah, and all they do now is, now they sit in a position where they wait to see what K19 is going to be doing. Well, aside from Hypercito that's going out, exploring, picking up that hit on towards Fake Zeno, but now Frey also picking up a beautiful hit right there as Nacho gets taken and right on down. With that, we are on to a 6-point deficit to make that 7 as the pressure is on. But look at Frey now, getting caught in the crossfire.
Goodness gracious. Adair coming up from the side, 8 kills to his name, putting a full spray, M4 16 shots down, not able to dish out any damage due to the invincibility. However, he was able to take quite a hit and still not be taken down, so good on him for getting out of there just in time. Nacho trying to put a spray down, ultimately taken out by Hypercito there. Adair getting Joey.
Oh,
That was a
2
close one.
points.
But
2
look at
points
this.
left
Now
to go.
a 10-point gap here. Masato's dominating the situation. They had something to prove from the get-go. They
team
might have been the
victory.
predicted underdog by me, but boy, they came out with something to prove. Good on you,
Oh, yes.
Masato's Esports.
Well, as I said, right, they were going to bring the heat, and that is exactly what they did. Their logo definitely not disappointing, as we can see some great flames coming in there, and Masato's just lighting it up all the way through. Just pure aggression across the board. But now as we step into our second match, right, this is going to be an opportunity for K19 to make a bit of a comeback. But, you know, they're going to have to really work super hard to lock that in based on the performance we saw coming in from Masato's.
Yeah, well, Masato's came in as an underdog and then outperformed K19 just plain and simple in round one. The question is how do Masato's react under that sense of confidence, that false sense of security? Because K19, everyone predicted this. I'm not saying this, everyone predicted, but I think a lot of people predicted K19 to kind of take the lead there. Are we going to see the K19 we were expecting moving forward? The pressure's on them. I don't want Masato's to get into their comfort zone. I love to root for an underdog. I would love to see a Masato's win. Now that I see their logo has some red eyes, I'm even rooting for them a little bit more. But if we see the K19 that history has proven, it could be a more evenly matched fight than we were expecting.
But again, right, that is based on what we've seen coming through on the Battle Royales, right?
Yep,
That's
you're
not
100%
necessarily indicative of what we could be seeing coming through on TDM. So it does seem like the players there from Masato's are looking very comfortable, at least with regards to the TDM action. But I have to agree with you. K19 is a team that is quite reputable over on towards the Battle Royale end of things. So I want to see a little bit more of that now comes through and really have a strong comeback, at least at the hand of K19.
Yeah. Now, is Masato's going to play this a little closer to home? You know, just say, hey, we've got the dub from round one. We just need to hold on to it. Or they say, hey, we got the dub from round one. Let's have a little fun with it and try to, you know, send a message to K19 that we're not just the underdog. We are the winners.
Ooh, well, that's an interesting question. We're going to be finding out very, very soon as the teams hop right back onto the battlefield looking to get into the action. A few hits already getting shot over on towards the players there from K19. You see a little bit of damage on that front, but now Frey just trying to play this position here. Up comes Nacho. Up comes Hypercito as well, looking to come in. Oh!
Joey takes him down and ties it up. Frey, now Frey was probably one of the front runners that we saw for his team, putting up a monstrous load of kills for the last round, but it just was not quite enough. Will it be this time around?
We'll find out, right?
Team effort. Yeah, this is a team effort. You can't take it solo.
Oh.
Beko with very little health going for it, and he does get Hypercito, but unfortunately he was vulnerable and low on health at that point, and easy to be taken down. And now we are left with a tied match, 6-6.
Yep.
Could not think of a better way to end it.
Oh, yes. And this is going to be K19's match, right? They need to try and win this match if they still want to be in contention here. But it does seem like they're really dialing it up as they've now been able to get a 2-point lead there on Masato's.
Oh, I love Colin's play there. He knew that he was shooting from the warehouse, and no one's expecting to have to look up. You know, no one's expecting someone to climb up those boxes and shoot down at you when you're in the middle of the warehouse. Good on ya. All right, Frey holding it down against Zeno. Nacho responsible for 3 of the team's 11 kills, holding his weight. Joey, okay, so K19 is playing this a little bit closer to home. They are going to play the reserved approach and try to make the Masato's put themselves in a vulnerable position. Is Masato's taking the bait? It kind of looks like they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, so Masato's trailing by 2 here, right? And I see this approach coming through from K19, and they're saying to Masato's, you know what, if you want the dub, come get it. And we're not going to hand it to you on a lovely little plate. It's going to have to be a earned victory. And I mean, oh, Hypercito, I assume, was out of ammo on that one. But we are now down to a 1-point difference coming in Masato still having to try and regain the lead here, but K19 really sticking it to them.
Yeah, this is a stronger performance from K19 than we saw in round one, in my opinion. Granted, they did start, it was a close match the whole way through, for the most part, up until the very, very end. We are seeing a little bit more tied here come round two. K19 finding their momentum, finding their footing, and with revenge on their mind, they are coming back here with just a 1-point deficit from the Masatos. However, once again, just like round one, we are seeing the Masatos kind of controlling the situation here. While they are so evenly matched in points, Masatos able to maintain the lead for majority of the game, yet again.
Yep, they definitely have, and up comes the rush again as Masatos now back into a strong position. All they got to do now is just keep the momentum going. 4-point lead is what we have. 3 points as K19 looks to close it up. Yeah, the quickest way to reload.
Yep. Ooh, Veko with a nice little shot right there. Oh, Adair trying for it, but taking a bit more damage than he's able to dish out. Adair only responsible for 2 of the team's 20 kills. He needs to step it up at this point.
Yep. K19 just evening up that scoreboard once again. Up comes the rush. Golden goes down 21-21 either side. Of course, now another point going out in favor of Masato's. Nachos swings on through, but this is what we want to see. The two teams now just stepping up to the challenge. And again, Masato's really being tested out here as we can see a relentless effort being brought in by K19.
It just goes to show that at a TDM level, with the gameplay being this fast-paced, neither team is dominant over the other. Neither. They are both putting up phenomenal performances, neck and neck, toe and toe here in this altercation. Every time Masatos gets a kill, K19 is there to retaliate, and vice versa. But then again, Masato's able, once again, to establish that small point gap. And, you know, be it for as short of a time as it is, K19 sees it and they're able to tie it back up time and time again. But then Masatos take that and they put another gap in there. They have been in the lead, however small of a lead it's been, they have maintained that lead for the majority of the match and last match.
Oh yes, so now there's only 1 point separating these two teams. Let's see where the next point will be garnered as we got a really strong approach coming through here from K19. A lot more of a cautious approach coming in, but with that, Joey gets picked up and Masatos now step up into a 4-point lead, 5 points actually.
And this is where K19 could make their fatal error. Seeing that they're a 6-point deficit, this is where you see confidence start to slowly diminish. That momentum to be a little bit impeded on. And Masato's able to take the situation and control it. Now with an 8-point lead over K19. You see Masato's really shining through from the mid-game onward, just like we saw in round one.
Yeah, but this is their moment to shine. Only 4 points, 3 points left, and this could be Masato's picking up yet another match point. 2 points left to go. Let's see. Oh, yes, it is still going to be the players here from K19 looking to close that gap, but 1 point is left. That is all Masato's needs to pick up the victory, and that is exactly what they do. Beautiful play coming through from Masatos.
Absolutely. Proving that they should not have been considered the underdog at all. K19 coming in as a 3-person team should have been considered the underdog.
Well, you know, like, I don't know what happened there. I mean, we did see K19 starting it off with 4 players, I believe, coming into this match as well. So maybe there was a bit of a disconnect or something happening. Not quite sure. I mean, that is if my memory serves me correctly, right? But I wouldn't capitalize on that or rely too much on that, as if it's not written down in front of me, I probably don't always remember it.
Well, DK, we have seen confidence and momentum play everything in these TDMs. Absolutely imperative, and never more so than in this final match. We saw K19 for 2 matches in a row really able to hold their own up against Masatos, able to keep that gap 1 to 2 points, 3 points maximum, really trading kill for kill. but only for a certain amount of time before they are worn down. And that's when Masato's come to shine. Masato's keeping the pressure on from beginning to end, but really shining through come the end game.
Yes, 100%. So, you know, this is what makes me so excited to see what tomorrow's matches will bring. As we know, of course, tomorrow a whole new selection of teams stepping up to the challenge. Also going to be running through their elimination rounds as well, but a very, very tough performance, especially as we moved into the latter half of today, right? The teams really going through everything. And of course, just to remind the viewers of what the performances of these teams were, we're going to be looking at the bracket to see which teams will be moving through into the next stage. Now, that next stage is not going to be happening tomorrow. Tomorrow, we move on to the right side of our bracket list to see who will be stepping on forward. As for today, it is going to be People Ruthless and Chapdan stepping up, as well as Phantom Reborn and Blackwater. Then also we've got Loops and GKS, as well as EStorm and Masato's. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, Loops and GKS going against each other.
Insane.
Oh,
Out aggressive gameplay on both ends is what I'm expecting. Just both teams trying to dominate the situation. That is going to be a fast match.
Yeah, and then of course tomorrow we've got All Glory Gaming, we've got X9, Toxic Wolves, Venture Inc., as well as Super Toxitos. We've got the Panthers, we've got Vivo, Keed coming in as well. Burn in Silence. I'm expecting a lot of mollies on that front. We got Fraternity, we got Cool Gang, Unity, as well as Aton. We got Dope, as well as Zenith, Mazexus, and the Brazilian Killers. No, those are all our teams we're going to be seeing step out onto the arena tomorrow. But again, I mean, if today's anything to go by, we could be in for a very exciting day with tomorrow's matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at it. I saw Mazexus and Dope right off the bat. I saw the Panthers, all tier 1 organizations. Yeah, they play at an elevated level. But one thing that you mentioned that we both have brought up here is these are TDMs. This is not that standard Battle Royale classic match. I've seen Mazexus and Dope in classic matches tons of times, but I have not seen them in this fast action gameplay where respawning is a possibility. It's going to be an all-out bloodbath.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, we can say it's like a little bit of a game changer. I mean, we even saw ahead of tomorrow's matches that there was a shout out coming in for the Panthers, and we've got Roman 3 Gaming also in the chat saying that they cannot wait to see the Panthers play tomorrow. So I'm expecting a very exciting day to make its way on through tomorrow there, as well as we've got a beautiful lineup. A few of these teams I've also seen play in the Battle Royales themselves. But again, as you said, right, we have not seen these teams playing TDMs. And I think that's what makes this so exciting, is that this is a completely different kind of dynamic, right? We usually see this kind of gameplay come through closer to those late zones, you know, close to the very end of the match. But this is what makes it so exciting, is because, as you said, right, we've got the respawns. So the numbers just keeps on refilling, and the players just have opportunity after opportunity to try and rake in those points.
And not only that, but the fact that there is the respawns means players can play a little bit more aggressively and risk a lot more because, yeah, you're going to be brought back. Automatically going to change up the gameplay, but this is a fast pace, non-stop, beginning to end. The entire game is like an in-zone circle, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it results in some pretty exciting stuff. And of course, now speaking about exciting, be sure to join us back again tomorrow as we continue with our second day of semifinals. As we said before, all the teams on that right side of the bracket are going to be participating tomorrow. So if you spotted any teams there that you are well acquainted with or that you really love to support, be sure to join us back again tomorrow for some more crazy deathmatch action right here in the Cinco de Mayo June edition. That we've already moved on, but tomorrow will be exactly 1 month ahead of Cinco de Mayo.
Yep, we are actually traveling back in time tomorrow. That's the weirdest sentence I've said all day, for sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Well, you know, we've seen the fast-paced action, and there is going to be no time to waste tomorrow. All Glory versus X9, Toxic Wolves versus Venture, Super Toxic goes to Panthers, Vivo, Key, Burn in Silence. Tons of well-known names that we are going to see in a gameplay that we are not used to. Okay?
Oh, yes.
I guess what I'm saying is you really can't come in looking at these tier 1 organizations and say, oh, they're going to come dominate the situation. This is just an entirely different beast to tackle. And yeah, you can have your predictions as well as you want. I predicted K19. We saw how that worked out. So
well, you know, like it is what it is, right? But of course, speaking about that, we are gonna have to love and leave you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Of course, a big up to the teams. You guys are absolutely beasts, and of course, look forward to tomorrow's performances. So with that, be sure to join us back again tomorrow, same time, same place, different lineup of teams, but of course, some more insane TDM action. Until then, stay safe and have an absolutely fantastic day.
that's right, guys. Have fun, be safe, be kind to one another. GG's.
I think you better hope that they catch also coming into the prediction, but it does.